Post-apocalypse. Beginning by hoarding 10 billion supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176. 1K looked at the endless insect tide and the overwhelming bats, and his scalp was numb. It doesn't have any absolute realm that can withstand the attacks of the insect tide. If you are caught up by any party, I'm afraid that you will have to peel off your skin. While on raw, 1K's body suddenly soared to 3 times in size. 4 dog paws planed the ground hard, and the whole leg ran at high speed like a spring, rushing towards the distance. 1K roared again. His limbs were forced, and his body turned into lightning and rushed forward. Woo, woo. The figure is constantly flickering in the jungle, like a gallop. Soon, he threw off the annoying pursuers. Woo. Chief Wang breathed a sigh of relief. I still want to catch up with Uncle Ben and give Leo TZU a fart. Barking. It turned its head to look at Mu Yun, but saw that Mu Yun had fainted. Babbling, a terrifying scream came from behind and swept through the forfields. 1K knew that it was the Lingayan demon bat who was chasing him. Without stopping, he exerted his strength and quickly fled towards Qingshan village. More than an hour later, 1K returned to the village safely, and the big bat was also thrown away by it. It's just that Mu Yun is still in a coma, and it doesn't know the location of that base. Helpless, I had to stay at the village chief's house first and wait for Mu Yun to wake up before making plans. So 1K went to the courtyard, and Mu Yun on his back was about to be buried by the snow. Such a powerful person can't be frozen to death. 1K narrowed his eyes and opened his mouth lightly. The next day, Mu Yun finally opened his eyes. He rubbed his temples, felt a little pain, and crawled out of the snowdrift. Only then did he notice that he had been lying in the ice and snow for a night. Now, there was only white left between heaven and earth. The temperature has dropped to -5 degrees. Fortunately, Mu Yun's physique is amazing, otherwise he would definitely be frozen alive. As for 1K, this stupid dog, it has completely turned into a white hill. Thick snow covered it, and not even a single hair could be found. Mu Yun walked over and kicked 1K with his foot. Hey, dead dog. 1K lazily opened his eyes. Dinner? That's right. Is there any interest in dog meat feasts? Mu Yun scolded with a smile. 1K hummed a few words in dissatisfaction, and then stood up, shaking his huge body vigorously, shaking off the snow on his body. 1K suddenly refreshed and stretched out a lazy waist. Mu Yun felt that his head was still a little drowsy, so he pointed out the direction to 1K and closed his eyes on his back. 1K didn't care, and Sahuan seemed to run. Dragon Court Base. Above the towering city walls, the cold wind howled. Hundreds of guards, armed with guns, vigilantly scanned the distance. The city that was originally shrouded in green, now only endless snow remains. The base is also covered in snow. The patrol shovels snow every 2 hours to keep the base roads clear. Pedestrians on the street come and go, unwilling to spend an extra second outside the house. After exchanging some of the supplies, he hurried back. Wrapped in a military coat, wearing a thick hat on his head and a black mask on his face, Zhang Yi wandered above the city wall. It's so cold. He rubbed his hands and said. Suddenly, he frowned and raised his head. In the white snow, a brown-yellow Chinese pastoral dog rushed towards it with its tongue out. Huh? Where did the earth dogs come from? Zhang Yi asked suspiciously. When the earth dog approached, he realized that something was wrong. This earth dog is too big, and Benjin is not the size of a normal earth dog. He looked closely and found a man lying on the back of the earth dog. Why do you look so much like the city lord? Zhang Yi muttered, and a strange feeling rose in his heart. But he didn't think much about it, but waved his hand and shouted, come. Immediately soldiers arrived. Sent someone to the city gate and inform Sister Lan that a huge Chinese pastoral dog is approaching the base. Suspected to be a mutant beast above the 5th order. Yes. After hovering, the earth dog carried Mu Yun under the city gate, and the speed gradually slowed down. Hurry up and open the door for Uncle Ben. Your Lord City Lord is here. 1K shouted at the top of his voice. Groove, this dog can talk. Zhang Yi was taken aback, and he was really shocked. Bastard, Uncle Ben is not a dog, he is a divine beast. Wang Ke was furious. Zhao Yi, open the door. Mu Yan spoke lightly. He is now in extremely poor spirits, relying on prosperity to carry him. Zhang Yi was stunned. Because this voice sounds very familiar. City Lord, is that you? He said in a trembling voice. HMM. Mu Yan answered. Boom. The heavy iron door was pushed open, revealing a huge gap. Wang Ke carried Mu Yan into the base on his back, and went straight towards the inner city. As a result, he met Chuan Tian and others who rushed to hear the news. When everyone saw Mu Yan's sick look, they were shocked. Brother-in-law, why did you become like this? It can't be that some goblin sucked his vitality dry. Chu Yu is afraid that the world will not be chaotic, gloating and ridiculing. Chuan Shan glared at her. Don't talk nonsense. Chu Yu pouted and ignored it, and went straight to Wang Ke. The whole person was buried in the hair of Wang Ke. Yan Yunan and Fan Zioki and others followed suit, especially Coco. Seeing such a big plush animal, the big eyes were filled with excitement. Mu Yan shook his head and smiled. After the women made trouble for a while, under the pressure of Wang Ke's death, they reluctantly let go. Husband, what happened? Why do you look like this? Chuan Tian supported Mu Yan, and his eyes showed concern. Mu Yan shook his head. It's okay, I'll go to the room first. It's cold outside. HMM. Chuan answered obediently. In a city, Wang Ke met Lin Yuxin and the old village chief. Finding that the two were living well, it didn't say anything. I found a vacant lot in the square, and lay down to rest. Seeing this, Mu Yan ordered Sister Lan to order someone to build a larger kennel for Wang Ke. Although Wang Ke is not afraid of the cold now, the temperature will reach -100 degrees in 2 days. At that time, even if it is not afraid of the cold, it will be frozen into an ice sculpture. After listening to Mu Yan's instructions, Sister Lan immediately asked the staff to do so. Back at the warm and comfortable castle, Mu Yan finally relaxed. Under Chuan Tian's gentle care, he comfortably took a hot bath and slept comfortably. I slept for a day and a night. When he opened his eyes again, it was already evening. The spirit has also completely recovered, and there is no pain in the mind. After enjoying a table of food, he returned to the room alone, and took out the green pendant around his neck. Let me see what this thing is. Saying that, Mu Yan's spiritual power covered the pendant, and began to investigate the secrets inside. Chapter 177. As spiritual power poured into the pendant, a green light enveloped Mu Yan. Ugh. In the next second, Mu Yan disappeared in place. When Mu Yan opened his eyes again, he found that he had arrived in another world. It was no different from the prairie he had seen before. The magic is, above the endless grassland, there are blue skies and white clouds. The breeze blows, bringing a refreshing coolness. Mu Yan couldn't help but take a few deep breaths, and the whole person felt refreshed and happy. Is this the space in the pendant? Mu Yan guessed. He had a strange feeling now. Seems being in this space is equivalent to being in the absolute realm. With the idea of giving it a try, Mu Yan's mind turned. In a flash, a sea of fire appeared above the sky, and the temperature above the grassland rose sharply. Mu Yan was convinced. In this space, he can do what he says, and do what he wants, as if he were in the absolute realm. With a gentle wave of his hand, the sea of fire disappeared without a trace. He unfolded his spiritual power, and spread it around the grassland, wanting to see how vast this space was. Soon, Mu Yan was surprised to find out. In the center of the grassland were countless supplies, which were all kinds of items that he had once stored in the space ring. These things are still there. Mu Yan's heart was shocked, and at the same time full of ecstasy. So say, the space ring and the pendant fused, and then this alien space was born. There was another reason why Mu Yan had such an idea. The size of the space is generally the same as the size of the province of the space ring. The lake water that Mu Yan originally stored separately with the space ring was now a vast and boundless lake on the east side of the grassland. This is enough to show that his conjecture is correct. If this is the case, this alien space is too against the sky. Mu Yan couldn't wait to verify it. But before that, he had one more thing to look into. I saw Mu Yan's mind move, and a teleportation appeared directly in the center of the grassland. In addition to the countless supplies, there is also a towering ancient tree growing in the center of the grassland. Why does this tree look so familiar? Mu-Yun stared at this towering ancient tree and looked at it carefully. Finalized. This tree is of a family with a holy tree that collapsed before. Although the height is only more than 300 meters, the appearance and structure are very similar. It's less white fog and big bats. In this way, this space can accommodate animals and plants. So is it okay for me to farm here? As soon as this thought came to mind, Mu-Yun shook his head again. There is no sun here. How can photosynthesis be used? No, there is no sun. Why is it daytime here? And how does the grass on the grassland grow? Moment. A bunch of questions popped up from Mu-Yun's mind. But he didn't have time to think. Because Mu-Yun found a more serious problem. Lying groove. Why is Laotzu's fruit missing? Lying groove. Why is Laotzu's more than 3 million crystal nuclei gone? Lying groove. Why are Laotzu's tens of thousands of devil fruits gone? 3 lying grooves blurted out, which made Mu-Yun's heart very lying groove. Although most of the various devil fruits collected before the end of the world were used, there were still nearly 10,000 fruits that were not used. Although the purple flesh is mostly half, the value of putting it outside is immeasurable. Even the large number of crystal nuclei obtained by clearing the corpse tide disappeared. Fortunately, most of the crystal nuclei remained at the base. And that's not all. From the beginning of the apocalypse to the present, all the strengthening stones saved have also disappeared. Except for the Ice Queen's Ice System Enhancement Stone, and the Monitor Lizard Flesh System Enhancement Stone for Yan Yunan and Afu to absorb. He didn't move the rest. Everyone in the base now thinks about changing crystal nuclei to increase the level of special energy as soon as they have points, and the exchange rate of the strengthening stone becomes irrelevant. As a result, the exchange rate is too low. Mu-Yun knew very well that the value of the strengthening stone was by no means more than that. In the later stage, it is difficult to improve the level, and if you want to defeat the opponent at the same level, it is how many strengthening stones each uses. The master's tricks are often only within a millimeter. Therefore, strengthening stone will occupy the mainstream market in the later stage. Mu-Yun thought that he wanted to hoard it now, and then sell it at a high price in the middle and late stages. Didn't expect that. Overnight, it's all gone. Alas. Marmot bucks. Mu-Yun's chest felt a faint pain. He figured out why. The birth of this space must have required a huge amount of energy. The spatial attributes are provided by the space ring, and the remaining basic attributes such as gold, wood, water, fire, and earth are provided by those devil fruits and strengthening stones. The missing energy was provided by those 3 million psionic crystal nuclei. In this way, this space was born. As for this giant tree, the 6 golden fruits were one less, and the one that was missing was estimated to turn into the giant tree in front of him. Mu-Yun was depressed and almost didn't have a mouthful of blood spurt out. This was the resource he had worked so hard to accumulate, and he returned to the pre-liberation overnight. Mu-Yun wanted to cry without tears, but he quickly picked up again. Since it costs so much money to get space, you must make good use of it. Everything that you eat has to be spit out for Laotzu. Mu-Yun's eyes showed fierceness. Such a large piece of land. There is no green tide invasion. Go back and find some seeds to see if you can grow vegetables. There are also sheep and cattle herding that you have to try, but it's too difficult to find a pre-apocalyptic creature now. No, not necessarily. The Kin family may have a way. Mu-Yun was talking to himself like a demon. The more he spoke, the more excited he became. The evil face of the capitalist is undoubtedly exposed. After an hour of planning, Mu-Yun was ready to start implementing the plan. First of all, use the idea to isolate those materials from before, mainly to prevent some foods from spoiling. Mu-Yun used the power of space to open up an area where time stood still and put expired food in. Then came the thoughts. Boom. The steppe began to tremble violently. Mu-Yun began to plan the topography of the grassland. Clear water from the eastern lake is channeled into the grassland to ensure that the land is moist and fertile, and raise the topography of the lake so that the water flow begins to move, avoiding the formation of stagnant water. The clear lake water will gradually flow into the western basin, and when the water is completely dry, Muyun will change the terrain in another direction. It's like an hourglass, allowing the lake from the west to flow back into the east. Then, Muyun hung a fireball in the sky to act as the sun. Of course, it is incomparable to the real sun. Muyun mainly wanted to try to make the space temperature high and whether the evaporation of river water could form dark clouds and rainfall. This way, he can host the ecology in the space without having to manually rain. The main thing is to be lazy. Chapter 178. After doing this, Muyun left the mysterious space. Then he returned to confirm that the space remained as it was after he left, and he completely relaxed. As soon as his mind moved, a golden fruit appeared in his hand. It seems that the function of the space ring still exists. Muyun nodded in satisfaction. Wrapped in a thick cotton jacket, Muyun walked out of the castle. City Lord. The guard sweeping the snow in the square bowed and saluted. Muyun waved his hand and signaled them to go quickly. He went straight to Wang Kei's kennel, a huge wooden house. Wang Kei, bring you something delicious, Muyun shouted with a smile. Woohoo. Wang Kei shook his head and ran out of it. Its eyes were shining as it stared at the golden fruit in Muyun's hand, and saliva flowed out. Here you go, let me see what effect it has after eating. Muyun smiled and fed the fruit to Wang Kei's mouth. Wang, are you using Uncle Ben as a test product? How come? Eat it. Wang Kei angrily bit the fruit, chewed hard and swallowed it in 2 mouthfuls. Hiccupow, how does it feel? Muyun asked nervously. Although he knew that this fruit was extraordinary, he had no clue what kind of effect it had. Let's let Wang Kei test the waters. As the fruit swallowed his belly, Wang Kei suddenly raised his neck and rolled around, seemingly enjoying it very much. After a few seconds, Wang Kei suddenly stood up, his limbs extended, his tail up, and his mouth opened into an O shape, looking like he wanted to cry with happiness. Woo. Wow. Aha. It cried miserably for a while, and then it cried out comfortably, and finally turned into cheers. Muyun was confused by it, and he didn't know why. What's the situation? Wang Kei has been planted by Coco, and Sister Lan is very reliable in this regard. No matter who it is, only if you plant the seed of your heart can you be considered your own person. Muyun tried to feel Wang Kei's situation at this moment through the mind net. Suddenly, a huge amount of information flooded into my mind. Name, Wang Kei number 09. Place, Blue Star, Energy, Giant Force, the initial skill Giant, the 6th order skill Strength Multiply, rank, 6th order, talent, S, identity lock status, affected by ****, lifted, description, Blue Star native, gene lock not opened, identity authorizer ****. The first thing I got was the information about myself in Wang Kei's mind. This is slightly different from Muyun himself. He didn't have time to think about it, and a bunch of information directly washed away his thoughts. It was a myriad of blurry images. A super huge monster roars at the top of the mountain. The whole mountain was roared by it. It is like the most powerful king in the world, ruling the continent. It has terrifying power, and when it steps out, the sky falls apart. It was like the end of the world had come, and the entire continent was plunged into darkness, as if the world was about to be destroyed. It wields its claws, grabs the sky, tears the void, and each attack contains the power to destroy the world and the earth. It is the legendary ancient fierce beast, Gluttony. The screen turns. On the earth, the corpses are mountains and seas of blood, and the blood gathers into rivers, dyeing the whole world red. Endless wails, roars of pain resounded in the sky, shocking the soul and creepy. The originally mighty Gluttony turned into a cold corpse, straddling the river of blood. A huge hole appeared in its chest, and the white bone inside was shocking. Not long after the gluttonous death, a tall burly man walked slowly to the corpse, likely pulled out the blade inserted inside the corpse, and then threw it hard. The sharp blade cut through the void, and slashed straight into the sky. Boom, the whole world trembled. What a great show that is. The man looked up at the sky, his gaze deep, as if looking down on all living beings. His eyes flashed with dazzling golden thunder, as if penetrating the void. Pooh. X2 Wang Kei seemed to be pierced by the man's eyes, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Mu-Yun felt the same and suffered along with him. His connection with Wan K was directly disconnected, and when he eased up to try to peek into Wan K's heart again, the picture had disappeared. Whoosh! I saw Wan K raise his head and let out a long mournful cry to the sky. In its eye sockets, tears flashed, and sadness was irrepressible. Subsequently, a thick mist appeared around it, shrouding it. Gradually, the mist became more and more, completely covering Wan K's huge body. A terrifying sense of oppression pervaded. Mu-Yun's heart beat faster, and he felt breathless. This is from the suppression of the bloodline, from the suppression of the life level. What's the situation? Wan K's movement alarmed everyone in the castle. Chuyu was the first to arrive with the teleportation, and then the women also quickly came to the front. Husband, did you vomit blood? Chuan-Tian saw the blood stain at the corner of Mu-Yun's mouth and asked worriedly. It's okay, it's not in the way. Mu-Yun waved his hand and signaled everyone to relax. What's wrong with Wan K? Lin Yuxin asked cautiously. I don't know. Mu-Yun's brows frowned slightly, but it shouldn't be a bad thing. It may be. Evolve. As soon as the words fell, there was a violent fluctuation in the mist. The spiritual energy that diffused in the air gradually converged towards the white mist, forming a whirlpool. Wan K, dead or not dead house. Mu-Yun tried to communicate with Wan K through the Zinnia network, but the information was lost in the sea and there was no movement. Over time, an hour slowly passed. The spiritual energy vortex gradually stopped, but the white mist became more dense. But something has changed. A touch of scarlet appeared from the white mist, and then spread throughout the white mist. In the end, the entire white mist was covered, turning it completely blood red. Everyone was stunned and completely stunned. Soon, the red mist began to contract, and a blood-colored cocoon appeared in everyone's eyes. The cocoon has a peculiar pattern on its surface. Mu-Yun carefully observed the giant cocoon. He could feel the strong and powerful heartbeat coming from inside the cocoon. Knock knock is like beating a drum, endlessly. Really evolved. I think it's degraded. It has directly become an egg. Dogs are not viviparous animals. How did they become eggs? The women chattered and began to discuss. Let Merlin take a look. She may know something. At this time, Yi Hanayu proposed. Imolin's achievements in biology are quite high. Even Yi Hanayu, a girl who thinks she is a genius, is willing to bow down. Soon, Imolin appeared in front of everyone with two panda eyes. After seeing the giant cocoon incarnated by Wan K, she tilted her head expressionlessly. 3 question marks appear overhead. Chapter 179. Seeing Imolin's doubts, Yi Hanayu began to explain the reason for it. Imolin spent all day in the laboratory, not knowing what he was studying, not asking about the world. Naturally, they did not know the existence of Wan K. When she listened to Yi Hanayu's explanation, Imolin's originally godless dead fish eyes suddenly came to her senses. Aha! I don't know where she found the scalpel and tweezers, and began to gesture around the giant cocoon. What are you doing? Mu-Yun's face was full of black lines. Unplaning. Merlin replied with a serious look. Oh, no need for this, right? The corners of Mu-Yun's mouth twitched. In case the evolution of Wan K ends and finds that there is a missing arm or a leg, it is estimated that it will have to run away. When Imolin heard this, he stopped moving and tilted his head to think for a long time. Just a little, said, holding out a finger. Alright. Mu-Yun sighed and agreed with Imolin's approach. Presumably, even if Wan K is awake, it is understandable. Thereupon, Imolin swung a knife at the blood-colored cocoon, and a small piece of flesh and blood was cut off by her and placed in the utensil next to it. Everyone looked at it and swallowed their saliva in unison. I hope that Wan K will not know about this when he wakes up, otherwise, he will definitely go crazy. Satisfied with the blood cocoon that had been cut, Merlin returned to his laboratory. It was a separate secret room built under the castle after the terrain transformation of the earth powers. Before the end of the world, Mu-Yun purchased 5 sets of the most advanced biological medical equipment. Anyway, it is useless to put them now, so she gave Imolin a set to let her tinker with it herself. Okay, there will be no results for a while. Let's all disperse. Looking at the back of Imolin's departure, Mu-Yun waved his hand to signal everyone to disperse. Chuan Tian and the others also knew that they couldn't help anything, and the weather was so cold outside, so let's go back to the warm room and stay. Only Linuxin couldn't let go of the giant cocoon. Muyun, is 1K really okay? Muyun smiled and patted Linuxin's shoulder. Don't worry, it's definitely fine. Alas. Linuxin sighed lightly and turned to leave. Although she was worried, she couldn't help it. Looking at the giant cocoon, Muyun felt that it was not a way to leave it like this. So the cocoon was included in the mysterious space. This way it is safe. Second floor living room. Under the warm heating, the women took off their heavy cotton jackets and changed into cool spring clothes. Ying Yan Iron, dressed in fragrant sideburns, is a rare sight. Yi Hanai lay lazily on the sofa, supporting the arm of the sofa with her elbows, holding a tablet in her hand, watching with relish. Everyone else also found their seats, playing poker and chatting with melons. This atmosphere is as lively as the new year, and you don't feel the fear of extreme cold. But not everyone can live as comfortably as they can. The major forces in the Dragon Court base are fine. I have accumulated a lot of crystal nuclei before, and now I can exchange it for coal, and buy materials such as electric heaters to keep warm. But those survivors in Area D are not very comfortable. Although the base built them free houses, they also gave some supplies for the winter. But even so, they still had a hard time. No hot food, no warm stove. Even if more than a dozen people were crammed into a room, there was no temperature rise in the room. Survivors, who were already thin and malnourished, had begun to suffer from death and injury. The women are okay. They have one last option. If you really can't survive, you can enter the Phoenix Tower to make a living. This has nothing to do with Muyun. Now that the base is fully entrusted to Sister Lan, we Muyun really don't know anything. But who makes Sister Lan a warm-hearted person? When you encounter such poor people, you should lend a hand. Right. So women still have a final retreat. But those who are afraid of death and have no skills, dare not go out of the city to collect supplies, and do not want to join the survivor team to earn points. The men who could only survive on the relief of the base, they were miserable. Sister Lan didn't have any sympathy for them. If you don't fight yourself, then you can't blame others. Of course. At this moment, there are worse survivors than Area D, that is the military base. They were unaware of the extreme cold and were unprepared for it. Who would have thought that a hot summer day would suddenly turn into a cold winter? Shen Liang, Zhang Di and other surviving leaders did not care about the sudden drop in the weather after dealing with Yang Chen's aftermath. When they came back to their senses, the extreme cold had fallen. Warm clothing is relatively easy to collect. The point is that heating materials are too scarce. Even indoors, if you don't light a campfire, it's no different than staying in the snow. All the wood that can be burned in the military base is used almost the same. Now even making a fire and cooking is a problem. Old Shen, has the 9th district replied to the news? Zhang Di's face was bleak, and they were almost exhausted. Shen Liang shook his head and frowned. The snow closes the mountain, the blizzard continues, the helicopter can't get out of the mountain, and the mutant beast is eyeing the 9th district. Alas. Shen Liang's words fell, and the surroundings instantly fell silent. Zhang Di was silent for a long time before slowly speaking. Is there no other way? Today, hundreds of people froze to death in the base. The fire went out while sleeping at night, and then the whole room froze to death in their sleep. This kind of thing is happening all over the place in their base. Others were burned directly by the fire of the quilt, and some were poisoned by carbon dioxide. In short, there are all kinds of ways to die. There's one last resort. Shen Liang's speech speed was slightly frozen. What way? Zhang Di asked excitedly. Ask the Dragon Court base for help. Everyone was silent for a while. If their old group leader Yang Chen hadn't done anything to lead the way, maybe this method would have worked. But now they have completely offended the Dragon Court, and they are afraid of. After Shen Liang finished speaking, he looked at the rest of the people. Do you have anything to say? Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. Zhang Di sighed. Can it work? Gotta try. Okay. Inside the office on the 2nd floor, Muyun called in exchange for Afu. City Lord, are you looking for me? I don't know if it's an illusion. Muyun always feels that the current Afu physique is a little strong. Could it be caused by the monitor lizard strengthening stone? Mu-Yun asked his doubts. I have to thank the city lord. After absorbing that strengthening stone, I feel that my physique is improving every day. Although the speed of improvement is not fast, it is indeed improved. Oh. Mu-Yun raised his eyebrows. No wonder Afu has become more and more energetic recently. It turns out that his physique is much stronger. I called you here this time to ask you if there are any seeds in the base warehouse. Chapter 180. Any plant or flowers and plants in pots. As long as the plants are not soaked with green tides, they will do. Fu nodded. There are some, but many potted plants seem to have frozen to death. Mu-Yun was shocked when he heard this. Damn, forget about this stubble. Go, quickly take me to the warehouse. The two hurried to the warehouse. The base's warehouse is built in the core area of the outer city. As for why not store in the safest inner city? The main thing is that there are too many materials in the warehouse, and the inner city cannot accommodate it. Arriving at the door of the warehouse, hundreds of guards armed with firearms were waiting in strict formation. Even though it was a storm outside, these guards remained at their posts. These people are the elite of the base. Each of them has the strength of the fourth order, and they can withstand the current temperature of -10 degrees. Sea Lord, City Lord. After seeing Mu-Yun and Afu arrive, these guards saluted in unison. Brothers have worked hard. Turn back and raise your salary. Mu-Yun greeted everyone with a smile, and then walked inside. When you enter the warehouse, the first thing you see is the mountains of food. In addition, the center of the warehouse is placed with classified crystal nuclei. They are housed in various lockboxes. There are also a large number of soldiers patrolling the warehouse, and the protection measures are very strict. Afu took Mu-Yun to a corner of the huge warehouse. There were more than a dozen bags of seeds stored there, and he didn't know what kind of plant the seeds were. After the end times, these things will not be planted at all, and no one cares about them at all. In addition to this, on the two storage shelves, there are many potted plants. Most of the inside is landscape bonsai. Pines, chrysanthemums, roses, moon seasons and more. The plants in these bonsai are the only old-time plants that have survived the green tide. Although these things are useless, Sisterland thinks that they are not worth a few points anyway, and it doesn't matter if they leave some. It is also good to use it to decorate the interior in the future. At this moment, some plants cannot stand the cold and have been frozen into ice sculptures. This made Mu-Yun's heart hurt. Knowing that he would get that mysterious space, he should have saved some in advance. With a wave of his hand, whether dead or alive, all of them were included in the pendant space. Seeds that don't know what they are also included. Afu, order to go down and collect more potted plants or seeds in the future. It is best to blossom and bear fruit, and seeds with use value are the best. Understand? I'll arrange it. Back at the castle, Mu-Yun went straight to Yihanayu. Taking advantage of the fact that the current temperature has not yet reached the point where 1,000 mountain birds are flying away, it is necessary to contact the Kin family quickly to protect the plants that can be retained and those animals that may still be alive. These are the things he will love in the future. Seeing Mu-Yun's serious expression, Yihanai was a little puzzled. What's wrong? You come with me first. Taking Yihanai's hand, he teleported directly to the study. Chuanshan on the side did not react when he saw this and continued to tease the cute Coco. On the contrary, Chuyu and Beizishu had a strange expression. Obviously, the two must have misunderstood something. The brother-in-law is also too bold, so blatant in the broad daylight. Sigh. Beizishu recalled the unbearable sounds he had overheard in the corridor before, and his pretty face suddenly turned red. Zishu, why is your face so red? Zion Yi asked strangely. How did she feel? That Beizishu seemed to have a fever? Well, no, it's just a little hot. Beizishu shook his head and explained. Oh. Zion nodded lightly and didn't think much about it. What are you doing? Yihanai broke free from Mu-Yun's palm. Help me find out where there are ordinary animals, as well as plant seeds, saplings and other materials. It's important for the base. Yihanai's brows furrowed deeper. What do you mean? Don't care so much, you'll understand later. Yihanai looked at Mu-Yun suspiciously, but did not ask again. but with her ingenuity, some clues have been guessed. Since he didn't want to say, she was naturally too lazy to ask. Immediately, she found a computer and directly hacked into the central information database. Under Yi Hanayu's dazzling operation, a bunch of data appeared in front of Mu Yun's eyes. There are a lot of seeds and saplings, and the old men of the Academy of Sciences seem to be tinkering with research on how to grow plants in the last days. But this animal, Yi Hanayu pointed to the pattern on the screen. Mice and chimpanzees, do you want them? Ha. Mu Yun's eyes widened. Nima, are you teasing me? The huge Huaksha won't even save a few chickens, ducks, and geese. Mu Yun rolled his eyes while complaining. Do you think this kind of data will be recorded on Skynet? Yi Hanayu shrugged. And, as the plants disappear, those herbivorous livestock may run out of food. But don't worry, according to our fine traditions of Huaksha, everything will be hoarded. I guess it wasn't registered, or it was hidden for some other reason. Mu Yun nodded, and felt that it made sense. You ask the Kin family, can you get me some animals? It must be a male and a female, and let them open, if the conditions are available. There are also vegetable seeds and saplings, ginger, shallots, garlic. If you have it, get me some back too. Mu Yun said in one breath. Okay, I'll try. Yi Hanayu said helplessly. After ordering this, Mu Yun remembered. Once there was a small vegetable shed on the 3 basement floors of his sanctuary. There seemed to be several small edible fruit trees inside. Now Mu Yun didn't want to let go of any animals and plants. Most likely, that was the last surviving little fruit tree in the world. Just as Mu Yun was about to go out to get it, a message came from Sister Lan's side. This made Mu Yun's brows frown. Base City Gate. Shen Liang stood in the cold wind with a dozen soldiers, shivering. They are just ordinary people, and their physiques are far inferior to those of superpowers. Such a cold day, it was terrible. What's more, the group braved the wind and snow, and rushed all the way from the center of the city. The thick snow had already wet their clothes, and covered them cold. But for the sake of the survivors in the base, Shen Liang had to venture forward. More than 10 minutes passed, standing in the snow, his feet were frozen and unconscious. When Mu Yun's figure appeared in his line of sight, Shen Liang's spirit lifted. Mu Yun glanced at the people behind Shen Liang. Everyone was shivering with cold, and their lips were purple. I couldn't help frowning slightly. You guys are? In Shen Liang, who is now in charge of managing the military base in City B, please ask the Lord of Mu City for protection, hoping to allow us to join. Shen Liang replied respectfully. Chapter 181. Sea Area Living Room. When Shen Liang and his party entered the warm room, their stiff bodies gradually regained consciousness. Then came the intense pain. They have long been frostbitten, and they are fine outside, and they do not feel pain at all. At this moment, the faces of the group became even paler. Let Ji Zhaoning come. Mu Yun instructed Sister Lan to let them change into dry clothes. Thank you, Lord City Lord. Shen Liang hurriedly said, and his heart couldn't help but be full of gratitude to this mysterious savior. Soon, after the group changed their clothes and recovered as they were under Ji Zhaoning's treatment, the talks began. Chief of Staff Shen, tell me why you are here. Mu Yun drank hot tea and slowly spoke. He didn't show much emotion. Please save the survivors in our base. If the weather continues to be bad, they are likely to all die. Shen Liang said sincerely. Although I know that it was wrong for us to lure the monitor lizard and the corpse tied to the Dragon Court base before. But it's all our own decision, and it has nothing to do with the innocent survivors. I beg City Lord Mu to take in those survivors. No matter what the conditions, as long as we can do it, you can just open your mouth. Shen Liang looked at Mu Yun sincerely, his eyes full of pleading. Mu Yun pondered for a moment. Is it worth it for those people? Shen Liang was stunned, not understanding the meaning of Mu Yun's words. Putting down the teacup, Mu Yun continued, the end of the world has only begun for more than a month, and the future natural disasters may be even worse than now. And those survivors who only know to pray for the protection of the strong, but have no effect, are destined to live long. In that case, Chief of Staff Shen, why do you insist on saving them? Mu Yun asked again. His words made Shen Liang stunned. If you are destined to die, why save it? As a soldier, it is my duty to defend my home and country. Shen Liang replied in a low voice. But have you ever thought about whether you can save more survivors if you give up this part of the survivors and use your energy and resources to cultivate more useful talents and fighters? As for the scrap, even if you save them, what can you do? Do you think you can change the situation with them? Mu Yun chuckled, his eyes deep. You are crooked. Shen Liang was speechless when he was refuted, but he still refuted stubbornly. If no one comes forward, will they be allowed to die? Their lives are their own, and if even they choose to resign themselves to their fate, then what is the point of you saving them? Mu Yun asked rhetorically. Every word he said was loud, hitting Shen Liang's soul. So, City Lord Mu means that he is unwilling to help us? After a long time, Shen Liang asked with difficulty. You can help them, but you can't. Mu Yun shook his head and chuckled, and said lightly. What do you mean? Shen Liang asked eagerly, as if grasping the last straw. I can leave it alone with the monitor lizard and the corpse tied, because I know that was not your intention. I can also save those survivors, but I think you need to think about this condition before you can agree. Mu Yun said lightly. Hearing this, Shen Liang's brows frowned slightly, and he seemed to be entangled. After a long time, he sighed, raised his head, and said seriously. As long as the city lord is willing to take in those tens of thousands of survivors, no matter what the cost, I can pay. Seeing this, the corners of Mu Yun's mouth outlined a trace of arc. There are still many empty positions at my base, and I need to find some people to fill the vacancies. The position of strategic commander, I want you to do it. He speaks directly about his purpose. Dragon Court's team is strong, but it lacks a qualified commander. If there is a large-scale battle, Mu Yun cannot command. He has never been a soldier, and he will not have any strategic layout, offensive policy or anything. Since you are not good at it, find one who is good at it. Judging from the information given by Zahi, although Shen Liang is a dead brain, it will be completely different if he changes the object. If he were to be the commander of the city defense army, presumably, in order not to let the innocent survivors in the base be harmed, he will definitely lead the way and rush to the front. Since Chief of Staff Shen has such a deep belief in protecting the family and defending the country, how about staying and protecting my small family? Mu Yun smiled playfully. Shen Liang was shocked when he heard this. City Lord Mu actually invited him to join the Dragon Court base. But he belongs to the military, how can he join a civilian organization? Moreover, as long as Chief of Staff Shen joins our base, you can still protect those survivors of waste firewood, and I will definitely not interfere. Mu Yun threw an olive branch again. Wouldn't it be better for you to personally protect them? Shen Liang hesitated again and again. If I join the Dragon Court, will I still be a soldier? This can be considered treason. Shen Liang said bitterly. Hey, little problem, I know your superiors very well, and I'll let people expel you from the military when I turn back. By the way, the military registration of those soldiers under your command is open together, and it is not troublesome. Mu Yun waved his hand and said casually. Shen Liang, am I special? Is this a human thing? Shen Liang left the Dragon Court base with a complicated feeling. In the end, he still did not agree to Mu Yun's proposal. Before leaving, Mu Yun told him that he had figured out to contact him at any time. After seeing off this group of people, Sister Lan couldn't help but ask. City Lord, why did you recruit people from the military to join the Dragon Court, in case? Mu Yun calmly drank his tea. Our enemies are natural disasters, mutant beasts, corpse tides, but not the military. I rather hope that the military is stronger and can directly end this apocalypse, and it doesn't matter if I disband the Dragon Court and go home to farm. Unfortunately, they don't use it. Mu Yun said slowly. Sister Lan was silent. She suddenly found that her pattern was a little smaller. Well, don't guess wildly. I think the key to leaving Shen Liang is the management of the base and the planning of the troops. These are all half-hangers. It's much easier to have someone who is professional to share the pressure with us. Mu Yun yawned, got up and left the living room. Sister Lan completely understood. The management of the base, Mu Yun, has completely become a handshaker, and she is all left to deal with alone. Looking at today's situation, the City Lord doesn't even want to care about the combat command, and is ready to completely release himself. Truly, Sister Lan guessed Mu-Yun's thoughts. He doesn't smell good about a rotten life. He set up the Dragon Court base to be able to upgrade easily, but he didn't come to find guilt. As long as his Prairie Ranch plan can be realized, he will have a steady stream of food. Use food to let the major forces in the base obtain crystal nuclei for himself, and he only needs to be responsible for breaking through. At that time, Mu-Yun didn't have time to pay attention to the things in the base. Just let the base develop on its own. Anyway, as long as he keeps breaking through, his strength is above everyone, and all intrigues and tricks are useless. But with Coco's skills, this is unlikely to happen. Chapter 182. After dealing with this matter, Mu-Yun left the base directly. Coming to the former shelter, Mu-Yun couldn't help but sigh with some emotion. It's a pity that the former 3-person world is gone. He shook his head and sighed. Entering the shelter, Mu-Yun glanced at the familiar living room and went straight to the 3rd basement floor. Inside the greenhouse, 3 dwarf orange trees are lush. There are also a few small fruit trees planted around, which look a little sick, probably because they have not been taken care of for more than a month. Mu-Yun directly put these plants together with the soil into the pendant space. They were planted near ancient trees. The shed lacks dirt, revealing the iron plate below. The perimeter of this shelter, purchased from Base Issue, is wrapped in reinforced concrete and wide iron plates. Mu-Yun thought to himself, since this is the case, it is better to calculate the shelter directly into the space. Boom! With a violent roar, the abandoned school above the shelter collapsed. Huge shelters rise from the rubble. It disappeared in place. All that was left was a huge pothole and a devastated environment. Mu-Yun clapped his hands and nodded in satisfaction. Back at the base, Mu-Yun found Yi Hanayu and asked how the collection of animals and plants was going. How's it going? Yes, but they charge a little high. Yi Hanayu took out a list. The list is densely written with a lot of handwriting, and the price of the seeds is very low, but the price of those animals is outrageous. Ordinary grass chicken, 1 male and 1 female, 5/6 order spiritual energy crystal nuclei. Ordinary sheep, 1 male and 1 female, a special line awakening fruit. Ordinary cows, 1 male and 1 female, 2 special line awakening fruits. Looking at the price on the list, Mu-Yun frowned. It's a bit expensive. Although he knew the preciousness of animals now, it was still beyond his expectations to really cost such an expensive price. That Kinyu said that these livestock may be the last batch in Huaxia, and if they give us, they may be extinct. That's why he opened such a high price. Hearing this, the corners of Mu-Yun's mouth twitched. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. I don't believe it either. The two looked at each other and both laughed. This is obviously a lie. The central government must have known that Yi Hanayu was in the Dragon Court, so a lot of information they no longer registered in Skynet. The reason why Yi Hanayu did not find out the information of those animals was probably the reason. Now Kinyu is sure that the other party does not know the information on his side, so he sits down and starts the price. You tell him that I can exchange information on the next natural disaster. It's better if you agree, and forget it if you don't. Okay. Yi Hanayu nodded and replied. Soon, the other party sent a message. He said to consider it. Yi Hanayu shrugged. She had long guessed that this would be the result. This is playing psychological warfare. Whoever lets go first loses first. Mu-Yun chuckled. Then let him wait slowly. As long as you know that the other party has it, Mu-Yun is not in a hurry. You help me pay attention these days to see if there are any other forces that have preserved animal and plant resources. Yi Hanayu nodded, indicating that she understood. Back in the bedroom, Mu-Yun directly entered the pendant space. The cocoon of prosperity was motionless under the ancient tree, without the slightest sign of awakening. Mu-Yun frowned slightly. He had already tried to contact Wan Ke, but there was no response. Imolan is still studying the composition of the giant cocoon in the laboratory, and there will be no results for a while. So Mu-Yun ignored it, and began to tinker with his own affairs. The first is to bury those potted plants that have frozen to death in the soil. He wanted to see if he could grow deadwood again in spring. If you can do it there, it is better. If not, there is no loss. Subsequently, Mu Yun also distributed the surviving plants in the potted plants around the ancient trees and carefully watered the plants. Speaking of which, since I can speak freely in space, can I control the growth of these plants? Mu Yun touched his chin and muttered. Just do it. When you think of it, Mu Yun's eyes closed, and a picture appeared in his mind. Spring blossoms, and all things recover. Endless shoots break through the soil, and the green gradually spreads. Thousands of purple and red flowers bloom all over the mountains. Pine trees and bamboo forests rise up, and become a forest in a blink of an eye. As Mu Yun continued to reverie, the energy in his body was flowing at a speed visible to the naked eye. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the scene in front of him, and he was pleasantly surprised in his heart. Plants that had already died broke through the ground again, then flowered, leaving seeds and withering again. The seed germinates again, grows again, withers again. So repeatedly, the grassland in front of Mu Yun turned into a sea of flowers in an instant. In the distance, several dwarf landscape pine trees also began to grow wildly. The rhizome spreads, and new pines appear. The same is true of several purple bamboo plants, which instantly turned into a bamboo forest. There are also quite a few fruit trees, orange trees, plum trees. Now, the pendant space is full of life, and like a fairyland. A strong breath of life rushed to the face. Mu Yun took a deep breath, and suddenly felt refreshed. Boom! Suddenly dark clouds covered the sky, and a spring rain poured in. Mu Yun looked at the rain curtain in the sky, and his heart was extremely excited. It seems that my idea works. This rain was not man-made by Mu Yun, but the fireball in the sky scorched the earth and heated up, causing the water vapor to condense into clouds and form naturally. The earth is nourished by the rain and begins to rejuvenate. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Mu Yun sowed the bags of unknown seeds in the warehouse on the other side of the grassland. Although he has not learned how to grow crops, Mu Yun can open it. I saw him wave it afterwards. Large patches of seeds are evenly distributed and fall into the soil. The mind moved. In an instant, countless seeds began to take root and sprout. Greens, wheat, carrots, celery, spinach, bok choy. Various crops began to grow. Without waiting for Mu Yun to be happy, a strong feeling of weakness came. Oops, playoff. This time, Mu Yun spawned too many plants in one breath, and he drained the energy in his body at once. Fortunately, those plants already have a certain vitality, although they only grow halfway, but they only need to grow slowly over time. Mu Yun's eyes darkened, and he fainted directly. The body was directly thrown out by the pendant space. He straightened up to the bed in the bedroom and fell asleep. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183. The next day, when Mu Yun woke up from the bed, he found that he was entangled by Chuantian. The energy in the body has been completely restored, and the mind is very clear. I don't know if it's an illusion. Mu Yun even felt that the energy in his body had risen faintly. At this moment, a sound sounded in my ears. Chuanshan opened his eyes and rubbed his eyes. You're awake, dear. After that, she sat up and hugged Mu Yun like a sloth, lying in Mu Yun's arms. Mu Yun touched Chuantian's hair dotingly and said softly, early. Chuanshan smiled like a flower. Why have you been in a coma recently? Don't whisper to me at night. Pouting, Chuanshan wrinkled his beautiful eyes. The corner of Mu Yun's mouth outlined a bad smile, and he lowered his head to her ear, who said whispered words can only be said at night. Chuantian first blushed, then glared at Mu Yun fiercely. Nasty looking at the snowy outside the window, the two felt that they were still warm in the bed. So, the ears of the women in the castle are very good. After all, they had reached the 6th order, and Mu Yun and Chuantian's movements could be heard clearly. The atmosphere in the living room was somewhat awkward. Only Coco didn't notice it, and watched the cartoon beautifully, until the afternoon. Under Chuantian's plea for mercy, Mu Yun got up. Now his physique is much higher than Chuantian, so it is more than enough to deal with her. After ending the battle, Mu Yun directly entered the pendant space. Looking at the plants growing wantonly, Mu-Yun nodded with satisfaction. It feels a bit messy. This was Mu-Yun's first reaction. The floor of the pendant space is wide, but overgrown. Those half-grown vegetables are also east and west. OCD is absolutely crazy to watch. It just so happens that Mu-Yun is that obsessive compulsive disorder. He waved his big hand, and the space rumbled in the space. The mountains and the earth began to change. A small mountain rises from the east, and the summit is full of mist. The endless river reveals an opening, and a waterfall rushes down, which is magnificent. Mu-Yun transplanted that pine forest to the mountains and let them develop themselves. The channel formed by the river is divided into two. One to the north. The purple bamboo forest was placed to the north, and various fruit trees of different heights were transplanted to the north. A lush forest appeared in front of Mu-Yun's eyes. The river runs through the forest and eventually flows to the west, forming a small lake. The sea of flowers is evenly distributed near small lakes to the west. To the south is 10,000 acres of fertile land. According to the type of crop, Mu-Yun arranged it neatly one by one. It looks very cool. As the river passes, it divides into countless streams, watering thousands of acres of fertile land. Towering ancient trees still stand in the center of the grassland, as if building trees from the sky, supporting this vast world. The sea of flowers, forests, and fertile fields cover less than 5% of the entire space. But as time passed, Mu-Yun believed that it would not be long before they would develop themselves and completely occupy this small world. You are already a qualified little world, learn to grow on your own. After doing this, Mu-Yun left the place satisfied. When he came out of the small world, it was already evening. What a hard day goes by. Mu-Yun couldn't help but sigh, and then woke up Chuantian, who was still sleeping lazily. Now that it was cold, Mu-Yun directly took out the hot pot base and a large amount of beef and mutton. In a harmonious atmosphere, Mu-Yun ate a warm and delicious hot pot meal. Different from the warmth on Mu-Yun's side, the military base's side can be described as cold and bleak. Now the temperature has dropped to more than -20 degrees during the day, and -40 degrees at night. At such a temperature, ordinary people simply have no ability to resist. Inside the military base, Shen Liang looked at the tragic scene of hundreds of people being frozen to death every day, and his heart was full of sorrow. I don't know how many people will die after this night. The survivors' residential area was already full of holes after being baptized by black rain. There is no cold resistance. A few quilts alone could not withstand the cold. If they don't think about solving the problem, none of them will survive this winter. Report. Adjutant Zhang is here. The doorman's voice interrupted Shen Liang's thoughts. Shen Liang looked up. Zhang Di patted the snowflakes on his body and walked to him. Old Shen, it can't go on like this. Zhang Di sighed, his expression solemn. Shen Liang's eyebrows were deeply locked, and he did not speak. If I want to say, even if you join the Dragon Court, there is nothing wrong with it, and protecting more survivors is not exactly what you expect. Zhang Di exhorted. You think so too? Shen Liang stared back at Zhang Di sharply, and asked in a deep voice. Is there anything wrong with that? Zhang Di didn't understand a little. Shen Liang used to be quite smart. Why does he love to drill the horns now? What if I tell you that old Yang's death was done by Long Ting? Shen Liang said word by word. When Zhang Di heard this, his body was shocked, and he couldn't believe it. How is this possible? I figured out in the past 2 days why Mu-Yun is not angry in the slightest, and he hasn't asked us for the slightest explanation. It turns out that the culprit has long been killed by them, and we owe the Dragon Court a debt, and they have already asked for it back. Shen Liang's tone was heavy, and his brows were locked. This? Are you so sure? Zhang Di is still a little difficult to accept. Remember that rebellion of the Psychic Squad? Shen Liang suddenly mentioned this matter. Of course I remember. Being able to kill the people of the Psychic Squad in such a short time. In City B, only the Dragon Court can do it. The group that killed Liao Yang was the same group of people who killed the Psychic Squad. It's just, I didn't understand why we were still alive. Shen Liang sighed. Now, I understand. He smiled bitterly, because they don't want to completely offend the military. We are the best witnesses to prove that Liao Yang's death has nothing to do with the Dragon Court. Zhang Di was silent for a moment. What are you going to do? We have no choice but to choose to join the Dragon Court and even testify for the Dragon Court. Liao Yang really has nothing to do with the Dragon Court. Why is that? The Yang family will not let us go. Joining the Dragon Court can save our lives, and at the same time, we can also save the lives of the Dragon Court. Looking at Zhang Di's confused expression, Shen Liang continued to explain. Although the Dragon Court is strong, it can't compete with the military. When a nuclear bomb falls, the entire Dragon Court will be wiped out. If we expose the Dragon Court, the Yang family will have an excuse to define the Dragon Court as a threat to the state and then carry out a devastating blow. But as long as both of us are convinced that Liao Yang's death has nothing to do with the Dragon Court, the Yang family cannot attack the Dragon Court. It is impossible for other families to let the Yang family act recklessly, and even if they want to take revenge, they can only act secretly. Zhang Di suddenly gasped. Such a powerful layout, such a terrible young man, it makes my spine chill when I listen to it. Shen Liang shook his head. The Dragon Court has cleaned up all the unstable factors, and I'm here for the last step. I thought about it for 2 days, and I didn't figure out how to break the game. That Mu Yan expected my character, and I wouldn't give up those innocent survivors for Liao Yang. From the beginning, I didn't have a choice. Alas, there are talented people in the Jiangshan generation, and there are heroes in troubled times. Chapter 184. If Mu Yan heard Shen Liang's analysis, he would definitely die of laughter, and said, "So I'm so good. But it doesn't matter anymore." Early the next morning, Mu Yan received a message from Shen Liang asking for help. Thousands more people froze to death in the morning, and there are now only more than 12,000 people left in the military base. In order to get these people back to the base as soon as possible, Mu Yan took Chu Yu, Zan Yi, and Yi Han Yu to the military base. Chief of Staff Shen seems to have figured it out, Mu Yan said lightly, with a grim smile on the corner of his mouth. Figured it out, totally figured it out. City Lord Mu is really a good means. Thanks for the compliment. Mu Yan was non-committal. Please also ask City Lord Mu to treat our soldiers and those survivors well. Don't worry. I hope that Mu Cheng will believe in his words. Mu Yan nodded. Subsequently, Chu Yu put all the materials in the military warehouse into the space, and then, with thousands of survivors, it was a big transfer. Such a powerful ability made Zhang Delian amazed. After handing over the survivors to Sister Lan and Afu in the base, Chu Yu returned to the military base again. 4 teleportations in a row exhausted the energy in her body. But her task has been accomplished. Now there are 8,000 people left who need to be transferred. Mu Yan expanded the realm to the maximum extent, and Xianai and Yi Hanai also opened the mental power and gravity energy. The mighty 8,000 people flew directly back to the Dragon Court base. So far, the whole city of B was unified. Those survivors were housed in Area D outside the city. There are also many vacant houses here. Mu Yan did not skimp on anything, and the new survivors were treated equally. In addition to giving them basic winter supplies, whether they can carry this winter is up to them. Of course, if it is a child or an infant, you can choose to take it to a school in Area A, but adults cannot. You can only choose hosting. For the cultivation of the next generation, Mu Yan still grasped it relatively firmly. These are the future D-head fighters of the base, and they must not be sloppy. Shen Liang and his team were placed in Area C, and they were not considered to be members of the Dragon Court until they planted the seeds of Coco's mind. However, since you have received other people's materials, the treatment will naturally not be too bad. It's still okay to spend the winter in peace. After doing this, Mu Yan summoned the Carters for a simple meeting. Zhang Yi will be in charge of patrolling the outer city in the future, and he wishes so. Standing guard on the city wall is really not done by people. It is too cold. Shen Liang became the captain of the base's city defense force after being planted with the seeds of his heart. Zhang Di served as his aide-de-camp. As for the military status of this force, it was directly removed from the Skynet by Yi Hanyu. Anyway, the central government does not know what happened, so it should be the whole army. Many people will definitely die after the extreme cold, and this base of Shen Liang is one of them. As for those of their subordinates, Shen Liang had already mobilized and understood their current situation. Anyway, they are all defending the country, plus the troops are disciplined, the orders of the commanders are absolute, and they did not show anything. After that, the ideological work was left to Shen Liang himself. Before bringing Lin Yuxin and the old village chief back, he also brought back the devil fruit that Wang Ke collected in a month. Because Wang Ke instinctively told it that it could not be eaten, it hoarded it and did not let Lin Yuxin and the village chief eat it. Now it's all cheap. Mu Yun. Just enough to arm this newly joined army. The same treatment as Niu Dazhuang. They are directly promoted to the 3rd rank, but they are not free, and they are deducted from their future salaries. For the rest, Mu Yun ignored it. The full power was given to Sister Lan to arrange. With the auxiliary ability of cheating such as mind reading, he believes that with Sister Lan's ability, he can manage these well. Mu Yun, on the other hand, completely acted as a palm cabinet. And so, a week later, the military forces within the base gradually began to become regular. Loose discipline began to become orderly. Under Shen Liang's suggestion, the base under militarized management became more and more presentable. The fighters of the combat group and patrol group, after training, learned a lot of melee combat and field combat skills. Although Mu Yun also understood some of these things, he was too lazy to teach his subordinates this. In short, the combat power in the base has been greatly improved. Everything is developing in a good direction. And as the leader of the base, Mu City Lord was looking at the books in his hand with relish at this moment. On the cover of the book are the words postpartum care of sows. Mu Yun didn't care about the strange eyes of the women and looked very seriously. Besides, these days, he also reads Scientific Planting and Breeding, Encyclopedia of Chinese Planting and Breeding Technology, Practical Technology of Free-Range Chicken Farming in Orchard Mountains and so on. These are all preparations for the farming program of that small world. Don't say it yet. Mu Yun tried to carry out fruit tree grafting and rice hybridization with reference to the description in the book, and the effect was remarkable. At this moment, the door to the living room was pushed open. Imolen's dark circles seemed to have worsened again, and her hair was messy. Lin, why do you smell strange? Yi Hanyu covered her nose and said in disgust. Whatever. Imolen frowned and sniffed his clothes, and after making sure that there was no smell, he looked up at Yi Hanyu suspiciously. You shouldn't have gone a week without a shower. Yi Hanyu's eyes widened, and she looked at Imolen in horror. A week? Imolen's head tilted. Has a week passed? She worked in the lab for a week without knowing it. The capitalists will be moved to tears when they see it. Let's go take a shower. Seeing Imolen's dumbfounded look, Yi Hanyu hurriedly grabbed her arm and pushed the person out of the gate. After she finished taking a shower, she changed into clean clothes and returned to the living room. The composition of the cocoon has been analyzed. At this time, everyone gathered around. Merlin took out the analysis report and then said a bunch of professional terms. Well, no one can understand except Yi Hanyu. Looking at everyone's confused expression, Yi Hanyu explained the situation through the vernacular. Simply put, the cocoon contains something that can mutate the genetic chain of an organism. From the current situation, the direction of mutation is not evolution, but atavism. Atavism? Everyone's eyes widened. The word was quite unfamiliar to them. What is the ancestor of that Wang Ke? Will it turn into a monster? Yang Yunan asked. The ancestor of dogs is wolves, and wolves pushed further are fine-toothed beasts, which are creatures from the age of dinosaurs, and it is not clear if they push further. The crowd thoughtfully. The picture he saw at that time appeared in Mu Yun's mind. That monstrous beast, gluttonous. But it was a mythical creature recorded in the mountain and sea scriptures, and it did not exist in reality. Although it is the end of the world, various monsters emerge one after another. But this mythical creature obviously has nothing to do with Wang Ke, a Chinese pastoral dog. Shaking his head, Mu Yun shook off this ridiculous idea, born in his heart. Chapter 185. The current situation of Wang Ke is still in a situation of half understanding. Everything will need to wait for prosperity to come out of the cocoon. To be on the safe side, the remaining 4 golden fruits Mu Yun was ready to keep for the time being, saving himself from becoming a gorilla after eating it. At that point, it's too late to regret. For the next period of time, everyone stayed in the castle. The temperature outside has reached below -70 degrees, and no one wants to go out in such extreme weather. During this time, Imogen had already made all those supernatural crystal nuclei that Mu-Yun had given her before into spiritual weapons. Because there is no powerful supernatural crystal nucleus, the psionic weapons produced can only be said to be average, can only be used as an auxiliary tool. Like Fanzaoki, he got an armor composed of golden powers. Combined with her own electromagnetic force, she directly incarnated as Iron Man. Combat effectiveness skyrocketed. But it's a pity. Due to the limited level of knowledge, it is impossible to develop the true power of the power. Not only her, but everyone else. Base Issue's Thunder System and Zion Yi's Nine Power. If these powerful abilities are placed on Yi Hanayu, they can be developed to the extreme in minutes. So, gone are the days of gossiping about eating hot pot. Everyone began to study hard. Yi Hanayu transformed and became everyone's teacher. Of course. What gave her the most headache was Coco, the girl, which was too difficult to teach. And Mu-Yun also joined the ranks of learning. As the saying goes, learn mathematics, physics and chemistry well, and you are not afraid to go all over the world. He felt that his powers also needed to be developed, and if he could learn nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, the whole two small mushroom clouds would not be a big problem. However, a few days after the class opened, Mu-Yun's mind suddenly had an idea. Yes. How did I not think of it at first? In the quiet living room, Mu-Yun suddenly exclaimed, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Classmate Mu-Yun, please don't make loud noises in class. Yi Hanayu glanced at Mu-Yun lightly and continued to talk about his knowledge points. Sorry. Mu-Yun immediately sat back in his seat and had a good attitude of admitting his mistake. Seeing Mu-Yun's reaction, everyone looked at each other and smiled tacitly. Let's stop this class today. I have something to discuss. When the words fell, everyone put down the notebook in their hands and waited for Mu-Yun to follow. You guys want to change your abilities? Mu-Yun said mysteriously, and everyone looked at each other. Can I change my powers? Brother-in-law, have you been a little stressed and fainted recently? Chuyu asked strangely. You're just fainting. Mu-Yun glared at her angrily. In order to verify his conjecture, Mu-Yun directly took Chuyu to the knife. The new skill plunder obtained by the 6th order can extract the ability of the supernatural, so is it possible to directly exchange the powers of two people? Thereupon, a black glow lit up in Mu-Yun's hand, and he grabbed the back of Chuyu's neck. Little Lori felt a strong sense of crisis coming, but thought that it was her brother-in-law, so she did not dodge. The moment Mu-Yun touched Chuyu, he grabbed it hard. A mass of light that exuded colorful brilliance was dragged out of Chuyu's body. Immediately afterwards, Mu-Yun's other hand grabbed the back of Beisishu's neck, making her beautiful face blush. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on the movement of Mu-Yun's hand, and no one noticed her abnormality. Mu-Yun did not hesitate. Beat Chuyu's photophore into Beisishu's body, and Beisishu's photophore into Chuyu's body. Come, now try your powers. Two light clusters submerged into the body. It disappears. How my abilities have changed. Chuyu said in surprise. An arc of electricity was wrapped around her hand, which was an ability that belonged to Beisishu. And Beisishu sensed it, and took out all kinds of things out of thin air, all of which were private things stored in Chuyu's own space. What little bare pants, small underwear and so on. I'll go. Zishu, what are you doing? Chuyu blushed and hurriedly stopped Beisishu's move. Beisishu coughed awkwardly, put away the things in his hand, and changed the topic. It seems that the special energy has indeed been converted. Everyone looked at Mu-Yun in unison, only to see him reach out again and grab it, restoring the two of them's magical abilities. Ha 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 ha. Mu-Yun looked up to the sky and roared, like a madman. Husband, what's wrong with you? Don't scare Coco. Chuan-Tian looked at Mu-Yun, who was a little crazy, and reminded him loudly. I'm fine, I'm just too excited. Mu-Yun waved his arms excitedly. Just now, I figured out one thing. What's going on? You say, what will happen if I extract the ability of mutant green slave or a mutant beast, and then break into the body of an ordinary person? As soon as Mu-Yun's words fell, everyone gasped. If it is successful, doesn't it mean that it is possible to awaken all the powerful people? The mutated green slave will no longer be a monster in the eyes of the survivors, but an opportunity to gain powerful powers. It's not that easy. Yi Hanyu interrupted Mu Yun, who looked excited. What do you mean? The law of conservation of energy. Mu Yun was slightly stunned, obviously not understanding. Can you speak human language? Yi Hanyu rolled her eyes. According to the data analysis now known, the reason why Chu Yuanbei's issues powers can be successfully exchanged is because they are both 6th order powers. The nucleus of the energy crystal in the mind can carry the energy of the other party. If an ordinary person has not even awakened his powers, there is naturally no crystal nucleus in his mind that can carry the powers forcibly into the body. It is very likely to explode and die. As soon as the words fell, Chu Yu seemed to be a cat whose tail had been stepped on, and he directly exploded. I'll go. Then if we are not 6th order powers, did we hang up just now? Bei's issue patted his chest, with an expression of the rest of his life. Yi Hanyu nodded. The probability is yes. Chapter 186. Lean. The old lady almost died. Chu Yu glared at Mu Yun angrily. Ahem. That. Mu Yun scratched his hair in embarrassment. Just now, I was excited, and I didn't have time to think about it. Although the full awakening is not very realistic, we can convert all physical beings into elemental systems. Yi Hanyu's eyes flickered twice, and looked at Mu Yun. Don't you still have 10 special fruits in your hand, but you can replace Zhongli's powers? When Zhongli and the others heard this, they immediately came over. Fan Zioki's powers do not need to be changed, but skills like Liu Meng's Arrow Rain and Oyu Hang Hang's Stone Falling technique can be exchanged. The abilities of the special department are much stronger than these ordinary skills, and they are also suitable for combat. Indeed, this can be operated in a wave, and the conversion of powers is not necessarily as terrifying as you say. It is not too late to experiment before making a conclusion. Mu Yun touched his chin, ready to grab a few green slaves and come back to study and study. At this time, Zhongli and the others were also interested. City Lord, then let's go out of the city to capture the green slaves now? Zhanglan rubbed her hands and asked impatiently. Although her sterilization is strong in the early stage, its plasticity in the later stage is not high. Unless like Zahi, he directly mutates and awakens into a diamond, which is still a bit confusing. Hearing that she could replace her powers was the most urgent, especially after the battle in Linshi Town. Paddling the whole time, her powers are useless. Okay, by the way, I'll also collect some crystal nuclei. Mu Yun's pockets are empty now, and the crystal nuclei are all absorbed by the small world, and it is uncomfortable not to hoard crystal nuclei in his hands. Thereupon, everyone changed into combat uniforms, and the group left the base in a big way. SHHHH. As soon as she walked out of the castle, Yan Yunan was shivering by the freezing weather outside. Yunan, you are a nice specialist. Why are you still afraid of the cold? Fan Zioki teased on the side. Who told you that people who play with ice are not afraid of the cold? Yan Yunan retorted dissatisfiedly. After that, she injected spiritual power into a red ring in her hand. The next moment, a warm current spread throughout her body, and the feeling of warmth made her forget the cold in an instant. Alive. Yan Yunan let out a long breath. Sister Lin is really powerful. She can make such a convenient prop. The rest of the crowd couldn't help but nod. They each wore a lot of cool gear on their hands. It was all created by Mo and through the skills of the Divine Duan Master. The flame ring in Yan Yunan's hand was only a defective product, not much use. It could only increase the temperature around her body. It is indeed a waste in ordinary times, but in this extremely cold weather of more than -70 degrees, it is unexpectedly very convenient. After everyone was ready, Chuyu Toolman went online. Take everyone to a space transfer, directly to a certain suburb of City B. Their destination this time was Yunjiang Town, located on the edge of Linshi Town. Now there are too few high-level green slaves in City B, and only these small towns, that have not yet been visited, have a larger tide of corpses. This time, Yi Hanyu followed out, and she also wanted to study Mu Yun's new skill. This will play a crucial role in the future development of the base. Everyone used their powers to fly and hurry. Half an hour later, a town covered in thick snow comes into view. Is this Yunjiang Town? Mu Yun looked around and asked suspiciously. Yin Town is a relatively remote town in the northwest of City B, because the local economy is not developed, and the population base is only 5.6 million. As far as the eye can see, on the road, and in the streets, countless green slaves are wandering aimlessly. As they moved, the snow on the ground was squeezed to the sides of the road, directly turning into a body snowplow, which was convenient for everyone to find the corpse tied. Without rushing to start, Mu Yun took the women to find an open space casually. Prepare to grab 2 random green slaves and experiment first. It just so happened that 2 hapless green slaves limped past them. Just the 2 of you. Mu Yun looked disgusted and raised his hand and waved. The green slave didn't even have time to resist, so he was imprisoned in place. 1 third order ordinary, 1 second order flesh mutation. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Mu Yun's hand lit up with black light and grabbed the mutant green slave. A purple light was directly drawn. Immediately, the purple strengthening stone in the center of the mutant green slave's eyebrows lost its luster and became dull, and the momentum on his body suddenly plummeted. Mu Yun directly shot the purple light mass into the body of that ordinary third order green slave. The next moment, the third order green slave ho-ho twice, its body soared, and a purple spark condensed from its eyebrows. Oh, all the women exclaimed in unison. Is this a success? Mu Yun raised his eyebrows and asked with some doubt. Subsequently, Mu Yun extracted the magical energy from the third order green slave's body. The originally skyrocketing figure suddenly shrunk and returned to its previous appearance. The spar in the center of the eyebrow also becomes dull. When Mu Yun sent the purple light mass back into the body of that second order green slave, the purple spar in the eyebrows of the second order green slave lit up again. What about dying by exploding a body? Mu Yun looked at Yi Hanayu suspiciously. Yi Hanayu was also confused. This situation was different from what she expected. Probably, this power was originally owned by this second order green slave, or it may be caused by the different structure of the green slave and humans. Yi Hanayu thought for a moment, and gave a guess. In order to give full play to the practical spirit of science, Mu Yun caught a few more green slaves for testing. Boom. A pop came, and the green slave's head exploded with a bang, turning into a pile of debris. This time as an experiment, to break into a third order ordinary green slave from the power in the body of a fourth order mutant green slave. The results were generally the same as Yi Hanayu's analysis. The green slave really couldn't withstand the energy brought by the high level power, and directly exploded and died. After that, Mu Yun spent another half an hour doing various experiments non-stop. In the end, several preliminary conclusions were drawn. Low-level powers are transmitted into the high-level green slave, and no explosion event will occur. The high-capacity crystal nucleus and high constitution are fully capable of carrying its energy. But everyone found a drawback. The mutant green slaves born using this method are generally weak, as if they look like muscular men on the outside, but they are actually not resistant to beatings. It's kind of like stunting. Powers that can only be obtained at the same level can almost be said to be perfect inheritance. And Mu Yun also found, the higher the level, the brighter the extracted photophore, and obviously the stronger the energy contained in it. If Zhangli and the others wanted to convert their abilities, they would have to find green slaves of the same level or other powers. Chapter 187. Of course, this is only a preliminary conclusion. As for whether there are any sequelae of the green slave's power being absorbed by humans, it still needs to be known through experiments. In this way, you are looking for suitable experimental subjects here, and try to find high-level ordinary green slaves. I'll go back to the base with Chuyu and find a few superpowers, to give it a try. Understood. After Mu Yun finished his order, he followed Chuyu and teleported back to the base. There were many survivors in the prison of the base who were arrested for doing things, and Mu Yun directly knocked out 6 people and teleported back to Yunjiang town with them. Brother-in-law, isn't it good for us to do this? Looking at the 6 lucky players lying unconscious on the ground, Chuyu swallowed his spit and asked weakly. It's okay, anyway, they are all very bad people, and they won't necessarily die. Mu Yun waved his hand, and said without care. Okay. Chuyu touched the tip of his nose, and said no more. The two waited for a moment in the square, and it wasn't long before the women came to the front with suitable green slaves. Subsequently, Mu Yun was not polite and began the experiment. The first lucky player was a third order flesh powerhouse, who was unharmed after absorbing the light mass of a third order mutant green slave of the fire system. Snap. The man was woken up by Mu Yun's slap and looked at the surrounding environment with a confused expression. I'll go. Laotzu, where is this? Hiss. It's so cold. The man rubbed his arms and complained. Less nonsense, nothing to take 2 steps. Under Mu Yun's persecution, the man unleashed a newly acquired power. The experiment was successful, and there was little danger in the transformation of the same realm. The man was lucky to survive and received the firepower, knocking the man out again. It was the turn of the second lucky runner. Boom. Oh god, the number 2 player was not lucky, and his head exploded directly in his sleep. This is an ordinary person who directly exploded and died after the first order power entered the body. Carry away. Next. Player number 3 was relatively lucky. He obtained low level powers and managed to survive, but his power has dropped by a lot. Number 4. Boom. After withstanding high level powers. Pawn. Number 5. Boom. Number 6. It's a pity that the remaining 3 players all died, but it's a pity. Subsequently, the crowd came to a final conclusion. Conversion of the same realm is possible, but there is a disadvantage. That's the physical problem. Chuantian, Chuyu and the others were special powerhouses from the beginning, and compared to other ordinary powers, the physical improvement was many times higher. If Zhongli and the others wanted to change their abilities, their backward physique would not be upgraded to the same level as Chuantian and the others. Whether it is exchanged with green slaves or with normal superpowers, the result is the same. However, this problem is harmless in the eyes of the special lineage. After all, now the battle of Chuantian and the others is not too dependent on physique. It mainly relies on strong powers to face the enemy. Now, when the experiment is over, it's their turn to make their own decisions. The decision is up to you. If necessary, then we will go and grab a few green slaves and feed them to the 6th order. If you choose to give up, you can go back. Hearing this, Zhang Lan took the lead in saying, change. I definitely want to change. I'll change too. Zhongli said. After Zhang Lan and Zhongli, Healing and others also said that they wanted to change. The power of special abilities is unquestionable. Now the powers of several of them have gradually been unable to keep up with the pace of the base's top combat power. Since there is such an opportunity, it must be seized. In that case, then catch 5 green slaves, and by the way, clean up the corpse tide here, to earn some extra money. As soon as Mu Yun gave an order, everyone began to act. Boom, a violent roar sounded in Yinchuan town. The zombies that were originally in a wandering state woke up one after another and ran in the direction where the roar came from. A big war soon came to an end. 10 6th order superpowers swept through the corpse tide with ease. The main thing is that Mu Yun, who is comparable to the existence of an 8th order superpower, cleaning up the tide of corpses is almost like opening a hanging. After harvesting countless crystal nuclei, everyone once again concentrated on the square. A large number of crystal nuclei were all fed to the remaining 5 ordinary green slaves. The green slave is still good at this, that is, it absorbs the crystal nucleus very quickly, and there is no need to consume white fruit. After all, there is no need for their bodies to be strengthened, anyway, they are all pools of green sap, all supported by mutant vines. 10 minutes later, the green slaves arrived at the 5th order. Half an hour later, they finally reached the 6th order. Roar. As soon as one of the green slaves broke through, he raised his head to the sky and let out a roar. Snap. Mu Yun went up to a big pocket. What is it called? Let's start with you first. Saying that, a devil fruit that emitted a colorful halo was stuffed into the green slave's mouth. Soon, a strong momentum swept away, and immediately after, the body of this green slave began to swell and become thick. Woo. Woo. A furious aura emanated from its body. A colorful spar was born in the heart of the eyebrow. Whoosh. It threw its head back and roared. This time, green slave stood up. Down with human tyranny. The world belongs to green slaves. The momentum of the mutant green slave reached its peak, and he couldn't wait to attack Mu Yun. You kid gave me a big push, right? Today I want revenge. Without waiting for the green slave to do something, Mu Yun went up, and was a big force. It's still a big black pocket. A colored photophore was directly withdrawn out of Mu Yun's body. Which of you comes first? I'll come first. Zhang Lan did not hesitate and stepped out. Mu Yun wiped from her head, and a golden light mass was caught and sent into Zhang Lan's body. And that golden light mass entered the green slave's body. The eyebrow spar of the mutant green slave suddenly turned into gold, becoming a 6th order mutant green slave of the golden system. This time, before it could draw, it was blasted through the head by Mu Yun's punch. Mu Yun remained silent, silently collecting the 6th order energy crystal nucleus and the gold system strengthening stone into the space. Next bit. The green slave couldn't swallow the second devil fruit or he would also explode and die, which they had tested before. That's why 5 ordinary green slaves were prepared. Not long after, Mu Yun drew a scoop, based on the good, and blasted the remaining 4 green slaves. While obtaining 4 6th order crystal nuclei, Zhongli and the others also successfully became special abilities. From now on, everyone has become special ability, and their strength has become unprecedentedly strong. Chapter 188. Zhongli gets the ability of lava, referring to the red dog. Healing got the ability of light, refer to her uncle. Yu Han gained the ability of the shadow department to manipulate the shadow. Zhang Lan obtained the space department, but it was different from Chu Yu's assistants, and it was the same as the ability of the space ring before Mu Yun. Ability to use spatial barriers and spatial cuts. Liu Meng gained the ability to control water. Ordinary water system powerhouses can only condense or release skills, and cannot control the movement of water flow. But Liu Meng can now, even if it is the blood in the human body, or the green juice in the green slave's body. As long as she has enough energy, she can manipulate it at will. They are a little excited when they have just gained new powers, and can't wait to experiment with them. So they decided to find a few more green slaves to practice. After a period of indiscriminate bombardment, everyone returned to the base satisfied. Inside the living room, the abilities of special lines are different from the rigid skills of ordinary superpowers, and the development of supernatural abilities is very important. So, your next task is to learn well. Everyone nodded in understanding. After possessing special abilities, they fully felt the power of their own abilities. Although they are not familiar with it yet, their power has greatly improved compared to before. It also gives them confidence. In the days that followed, in addition to learning mathematics, physics and chemistry, the women left the base to practice the use of supernatural abilities, tired until half dead every day, but still happy. Mu Yun was not idle. Every day, I take care of the plants in the small world, and at the same time learn more. Of course, the matter of letting Yi Hanyu investigate the surviving animals did not fall behind. Half a month has passed since the start of extreme cold. The temperature outside has reached -100 degrees. This kind of temperature is not a problem for mutant beasts and green slaves, but for ordinary people, it is unbearable. On this day, Shen Liang found Mu Yun in the study. City Lord, the weather outside is too bad. Those survivors in Area D are almost unable to bear it. If the materials in the base are sufficient, can you? Shen Liang's words vaguely revealed his thoughts. He couldn't watch the survivors die one by one and do nothing. Mu Yun looked at Shen Liang, and a light smile was outlined at the corner of his mouth. I understand Captain Shen's thoughts, but if you can discuss this kind of matter directly with Sister Lan, why did you come to me? Mu Yun picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip, seemingly not caring much. I looked for it, but Sister Lan didn't agree. She said that, unless the city lord spoke, that's why I came to beg you. Shen Liang said with a bitter smile. His eyes darkened, as if he had lost his vitality. These days, he also sees the base's arrangement of survivors in Area D. Children are protected unconditionally, and the remaining survivors are given basic supplies for the winter. As for some women choosing to enter the Phoenix Tower, although he didn't feel very comfortable in his heart, he didn't say anything. After all, this is people's own choice. With these measures, the base has done its best. Shen Liang didn't have much hope this time, but he couldn't bear it in his heart. If he didn't try it, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Mu Yun pondered for a moment. So that's the case. How much material does Captain Shen think can save their lives? Listening to Mu Yun's words, Shen Liang's eyes lit up. Is there a drama? coal. Just coal. Almost blurted out. Survivors in Area D are not lacking food. Although the food given by the base every day is barely enough to survive, the hungry is still hungry. But in this icy winter, a warm room is the key to survival. It is not extravagant to turn on the electricity and turn on the heating, but 2 more stoves in the room are enough to maintain the temperature of the room. It's just coal. Mu-Yun bowed his head slightly, since it was Captain Shen's request. Then I immediately sent someone to transport the coal over. When Shen Liang heard this, a bright smile suddenly bloomed on his face. Thank you, City Lord. At this moment, Mu-Yun's image in Shen Liang's heart was once again subverted. Sure enough, there is true love in the world, and there are still many good people in the world. It doesn't hurt. Mu-Yun waved his hand. There are still quite a few coal bases taken from the Qin family, and the points in the pockets, of which forces have almost been sucked out of the coal base during this time. The rest of the ones are also put away, and it doesn't hurt to sell Shen Liang a face. Although Mu-Yun has always thought that those survivors in Area D are useless, coal is a dead thing after all, and it is not as good as those living lives. Anyway, only half a month of extreme cold has passed, and there is no point in keeping those coals. Then Shen Liang chatted with Mu-Yun about some other matters before leaving. Before leaving, Shen Liang gave Mu-Yun a guarantee. City Lord, before you ask me what was the use of rescuing those survivors who were doomed to die and were useless, but now, I have a different opinion. Mu-Yun looked at Shen Liang suspiciously, waiting for his answer. I think it's important to guide them down the right path. To try to make them useful, maybe, will be more valuable than giving them up. Shen Liang's eyes flashed with determination. It's a hope, a desire. Mu-Yun was stunned for a long time and said slowly, try it, I'm looking forward to it. The smile on Shen Liang's face became brighter. Thank you, City Lord, then I will leave first. Looking at the wind and snow outside the window, Mu-Yun fell into deep thought. In the time that followed, the world seemed to fall into silence. The wind and snow still ravaged the earth. Even the corpse tied in the mutant beasts in the depths of the mountain have stopped a lot. In this snowy world, 2 black figures shuttled and quickly approached City B. The speed of the 2 figures is extremely fast, and the wind and snow cannot stop their pace. When the 2 arrived at the former military base, the sports center buried by the wind and snow, the 2 stopped. Are you sure this is here? One of the men asked, with a skeptical tone. Yes, something must have happened here. Another man affirmed. I hope so, if your information is wrong. Even if your sister is highly valued by the organization, you will not feel good when you go back. I understand. The man frowned slightly, and then left the place with his companion. City C, downtown. With the municipal building as the center, a stone wall more than 10 meters high will surround the entire city center. This is the survivor base of City C. It was formed by the army sent by the 9th district, as well as local government personnel and various forces. Among them, the Bay family, as the head snake, occupies a place in the base. Originally, the Bay family was able to dominate at the beginning of the last days, and with the materials and family power in hand, it was enough to dominate in Sea City. But a black rain fell, and the military made a lot of money. The strength of the supernatural has grown terrifyingly, and in an instant, it has surpassed the Bay family, the head snake. Now the Bay family can only stay in the base, and keep to themselves, silently waiting for the opportunity to rise. On this day, a man in black came to the Bay family, and quietly found the head of the Bay family, Bei Hao. Bei Hao realized that the opportunity had come. Chapter 189. Hello. In the living room, Mu-Yun listened to Teacher Yi's lecture in a foggy manner, and yawned boredly. Looking around, he found that everyone was listening carefully and no one was paying attention to him. Mu-Yun quietly took out his mobile phone. I haven't chatted with interesting group friends for a long time, and Mu-Yun misses it a little. Click on the chat group of Doomsday Enthusiasts, which is very active. The people in the group are all big guys. As long as they don't eat the devil fruit by mistake, they are basically alive and moist. Hiding in a private shelter, with plenty of supplies, you can save some food to survive for many years. Wind blows fart cool, it's so boring. Have you ever come out of the water? JPG Grandpa Bungdy, when a girl appeared in front of you, you didn't save it, and now you regret it. Wind blowing fart cool. I'll go. You mean to say it's a girl? 8 feet tall, like King Kong Barbie, my small body cannot bear. Touch the fish fairy, Zyadala. The pattern is small, the pattern is open. JPG. Angela, there is a saying, touching the fish, it's not good for children to know too much. Grumpy Pangolin, which of you stocked up on milk powder? Some said, online, etc. Quite urgent. Cucumber is not melon. Milk powder? How long has it been since I came? And the big guy children have it. Wind blows fart cool, lying in the groove. The corpse is fraudulent. Mew chosen son, savior, protagonist Halo Yun, resurrected. Cucumber is not a melon. Black question mark. JPG. Fish touching immortal. Big guy begging to bring. JPG. Angela, hugging the thigh hair. JPG. Grandpa Bungie. I haven't spoken for so long. Everyone in the group thought that the big guy sent it. It is worthy of being a man with the protagonist's halo, and he can be resurrected when he dies. Grumpy Pangolin. Big guy, do you have milk powder there? I can exchange crystal nuclei. Cucumber is not a melon. What do you want milk powder for? Boys and girls? Angela, it's not people, it's the cows in his ecological garden who gave birth. Cucumber is not a melon. Ecological garden? Awesome. Grumpy Pangolin. Ecological park photo. JPG. Mew Young looked at the picture sent on his mobile phone. It is an ecological park surrounded by tempered glass. Although the area is not large, only the size of a basketball court, it is full of various plants, as well as some animals. There is even a small pond with a few small fish in it. Above the ecological garden is artificial ultraviolet light, which can photosynthesize plants. Cow shed, sheep shed, chicken shed. In the middle of the 3 sheds there is an empty field with green greens and potatoes, milk, eggs, wool, vegetables. This ecological park can be said to be very well allocated. It is not difficult to see that this violent pangolin has thoroughly understood the doomsday shelter. And according to Mew Young's previous chat, I learned the man's sanctuary also has a swimming pool, recreational equipment, gym, etc. There are also several huge warehouses stockpiling supplies. Hey, classmate Mew, you can't play with your phone during class. Just as Mew Young was immersed in his amazement at this ecological garden, Teacher Yi's gentle voice sounded in his ears. Well, you're absolutely right, so I'm skipping class. Mew Young came back to his senses and looked up at the blackboard. Huh, I have something to deal with, you guys go ahead, leave me alone. After speaking, Mew Young took the mobile phone and came to the study. Uncle is right, Coco also needs mining lessons. Coco waved her small fist in protest. Boo. Ouch. Coco was bounced back by Yi Hanayu's tap on the head. Aunt. Coco covered her little head and threw herself into the arms of Chuantia next to her with grievances. Well, class is out in 12 hours, hold on a little longer. HMPH. Carrot. Coco pouted and turned her head in disdain. In the study, Mew Young had a private chat about irascible pangolins alone. Mew, brother pangolin, how many cows, sheep, chickens and fish can I be even? Jiang, brother Mew, just call me Jiang Ming, that's my real name. Jiang, fish and chickens can be exchanged, but I don't have a few cows and sheep in my hands. And now these animals can be said to be almost extinct, and this value Mew brother should also know how precious they are. Looking at the news sent by Jiang Ming, Mew Young thought for a long time in his mind. In my previous life, I had never heard of such a number one person. It can be seen from the other party's ability to build such a well thought out shelter that this person is not simple. It shouldn't be difficult to survive until the later stages. That being the case, there is only one result. That is, Jiang Ming fell in the early stage, and it is likely that he ate the devil fruit. Mew, I can exchange fish and chickens with a 5th order crystal nucleus, or equivalent materials. Jiang, yes. Seeing the other party readily agree, Mew Young breathed a sigh of relief. In the eyes of outsiders, the 5th order crystal nucleus is enough for a 4th order supernatural to break through to become a 5th order. Even the bosses of the large forces such as the Blood Wolf and the Black Bear are only of the 5th order. Exchanging this condition for a few fish and a few chicks is already considered sincere. However, the 5th order crystal nucleus is just drizzle for Mew Young now, sprinkling water. Mew, by the way, if you have milk powder, I have some here, so I will give it to you as a bonus. Jiang, so thank you brother Mew. The courtesy is still exchanged. I will send brother Mew a message. Mew, oh. What news? Jiang, did brother Mew remember the fallen emperor of the heavens? Mew, remember, the fart emperor didn't fall at the beginning. Jiang, that's right. As far as I know, one of his legacies is an ecological park, even bigger than mine. If brother Mew is closer to the fart emperor ruins, he can try his luck. Although a month and a half has passed since the fall of the fart emperor, the ecological park may still be operating on its own, and it should be able to harvest. Mew, so that's the case. Thank you brother Jiang for reminding. Jiang, you're welcome. Raise your hand. Mew, I don't know where the Jiang brothers are sheltered. How do we trade? It can be delivered to the door, and the Jiang brothers can also pick it up in person. After sending this news, Mew Yun waited for a long time and did not see the other party reply. He knows, in times like these, the risks of exposing shelter addresses are undoubtedly enormous. If Mew Yun did not have good intentions, Jiang Ming would probably fall into a place of irreparable disaster. But Mew Yun did not force and handed over the decision to the other party. Anyway, now he is invincible, and it doesn't hurt to choose whatever the other party wants. Jiang, sorry, I just went to flip through the map. Since brother Mew is going to Hezhou, where Emperor Mew is located, then brother Mew will work hard and deliver it to your door. Jiang, positioning, Fengbi County, Jiangju City. Mew Yun suddenly passed through Heju from Jiangju to Jiangju, and it was indeed much more convenient for him to deliver it to his door. Mew, brother Jiang trusted him and directly reported himself. Jiang, I just trust Yi Hanyu. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. Mew Yun, I'll go. How come there is Yi Hanyu everywhere? Is she the protagonist, or am I the protagonist? Mew, do you know each other? Jiang, a previous company. Mew, dark web. Jiang, well, let's talk when we meet. Be careful on the road. Mew Yun, the world is really small. With a sigh, Mew Yun put away his mobile phone and left the study. Come to the living room. I'm going to go far away, and the base will be handed over to you. Where to play? Can I go? Chuyu immediately became interested. It was better to fight the little monster than to study boringly. Although she is a tool person, she can only watch plays. If you want to go to Jiangju, it is estimated that it will take about half a month. Chuyu was suddenly stunned. It's cold and freezing for half a month. It's better to stay in a comfortable room honestly. How do you get so far away? Do you want me to accompany you, husband? Chuantian walked over and took Mew Yun's arm and said, no need, I'm convenient to move alone, and I will be back soon, rest assured. Saying that, he patted the top of Chuantian's head again. Just help me guard the base. After speaking, Mew Yun looked at Yi Hanyu. Do you know this person Jiang Ming? Why do you suddenly ask this? This time I went out to get him something, and sent him something by the way. Yi Hanyu raised her eyebrows. I haven't been in touch for a long time. How is this guy doing now? Mew Yun recalled Jiang Ming's luxurious shelter, and the corners of his mouth twitched twice. It should be fine. Yi Hanyu nodded. If you can, it's best to bring him back to the base. It should be helpful for the transformation of the base. What do you say? You understand when you see him. Yi Hanyu smiled mysteriously, which made Mew Yun feel even more strange. Okay, then I'll go first. Stay safe. It's been a good ride, uncle. Be careful on the road. Looking at Mew Yun's departing back, Yi Hanyu's eyes flickered. Jiang Ming, you are finally willing to appear. But now is the end. Don't die too early. A week later, Mew Yun slept all the way and finally came to Hezhou. The smartwatch on his left hand lights up with a virtual light curtain that shows his current location. This is the smartwatch 2.0 carefully designed by Li Chaofan and Li Yan, which has been enhanced in function. Yun's location at the moment is Hezhadi City, and the location of the Emperor Heritage is on Chenghua Avenue in this city. At this moment, it was getting late, and the snow covered the entire city, and it was a little difficult to find the Erkson Bridge. He decided that he wanted to rest for the night and wait until tomorrow to find it before it was too late. In the middle of the city, there is a small base city. The bright lights stand out in the darkness of the night. Yun flew directly towards this base city, preparing to settle here. When I came to the city gate, I was stopped by the guard. Stop. What people? Yun stepped forward and looked at the soldiers shivering under the city gate. Survivors passing by want to come and settle here. Yun said lightly. Are you sure? The doorman asked suspiciously. At this time, there are still people running around. Aren't they afraid of freezing to death? Okay. Entering the city costs 5 first-order crystal nuclei. Yun frowned when he heard this. Such an expensive entrance fee. Is my base collecting less? Handing over 5 crystal nuclei, the doorman gave him a temporary pass and opened the city gate. Remember, 5 crystal nuclei can only let you stay for 1 day. If you want to continue to stay in the safe base city, remember to renew. Understood. Yun took the pass and walked inside. For such a charge, Yun was not surprised. Many bases do this in order to earn crystal nuclei. The Dragon Court base also has it, but in a different way. It directly drains the wallet of the survivor squad in a commercial street. Yun walked towards the brightly lit place in the base. There were hardly anyone to see along the way. The streets are also almost covered in snow, and it seems that few people have cleared them. Jingle Bell found a hotel that looked clean. Yun pushed the door and entered. The hall was heated, but it was empty, and even the tables and chairs had been removed. Behind the counter sat a woman in a thick cotton jacket, her head hanging low, and she only raised her head when she heard the door open. What do you need? I want a room. Standard room 100, big bed 150. Yun directly threw 2 third-order crystal nuclei to the front desk and took the room card upstairs. The woman at the front desk saw Yun making such a big move. Her eyes rolled around, put away the crystal nucleus, and then called another woman next to her. Xiaomi, a big customer is coming. Go and ask if you want to serve. Yun didn't know that 100 here did not mean 100 first-order crystal nuclei. The proportion in the base city is that 1 nucleus is equal to 10 coins. The woman at the front desk thought that Yun lived directly for 10 days and did not say a word to remind her. These days, hotels that can afford hot water and electricity are powerful powers. Ordinary people are crowded in slums, but they don't come to this kind of place. A big model like Yun must find a way to get close, in case the other party is seen by exquisite technology. It is a step to the sky. Got it, Miss Han. The young girl known as Xiaomi hurriedly jumped up from her stool and walked upstairs. As soon as Yun entered the room, Xiaomi knocked on the door. Sir, do you live alone? Yun opened the door and looked at Xiaomi with a fawning look. Something? I don't know. If Mr. has a demand tonight, I can provide services, but it's paid. Xiaomi stretched out her index finger and shook it, looking like she wanted to refuse to welcome back. Ask you a question, and the answer is that this crystal nucleus is yours. Yun took out a second-order crystal nucleus from his body and shook it. Xiaomi's eyes lit up, and he hurried forward. Sir, it's better to let me in. The long night is long. You can ask slowly. Xiaomi said and went into the room. Yun stepped forward and blocked it out of the door. I'll ask you. Xiaomi was stunned, looking at Yun a little puzzled. How to go to Chenghua Avenue? Huh? Xiaomi is a little confused. What kind of problem is this? Don't you know? Yun squinted slightly at Xiaomi. 15 kilometers south of the city, if I remember correctly. Xiaomi swallowed her spit and said, this person is here to be funny. Thank you. Yun threw the crystal nucleus to her and then closed the door. Only Xiaomi was left messy in the aisle. What kind of person? Isn't this girl more attractive than Chenghua Avenue? Really? Xiaomi muttered for a long time, but still held the crystal nucleus and left happily. Chapter 191. In the room, Yun took out the self-heating hot pot and dealt with it casually. He didn't think about wandering around the base. Anyway, it's just a little bit of fun now, it's not attractive. So Myuyun took a comfortable bath and fell asleep. Downstairs, Xiaomi returned to the front desk with a second order crystal nucleus and said with a happy face, "Little Miss Hung, that guest is really strange. Just give me 100 coins after asking a question, and the shot is too generous." After listening to Xiaomi's words, Xiao Hang's brows wrinkled slightly. He didn't want to serve? Well, I asked how to go to Chenghua Avenue. Xiao Hang fell into deep thought when she heard this. Is it G? After thinking that this kind of thing had little to do with them, Xiao Hang waved her hand and signaled Xiaomi to continue working. The city has not been peaceful recently, so you should stay in a hotel in the next 2 days. Xiao Hang ordered, and Xiaomi shrunk her head when she heard this. Little Miss Hung, are you talking about a mysterious monster attack? I heard that hundreds of people have died since last week. Shh, it's better to talk less about this kind of thing. Let's get to work. Xiao Hang snorted softly, and Xiaomi hurriedly covered her mouth, lowered her eyebrows and started working. As the night grew darker, everything returned to calm. However, there was a burst of terrified screams from a certain villa. Ghost. Help. Woo woo, sharp cries and shouts of killing mixed together, filling the entire villa. Bang, click. Without warning, a man was thrown in the corner, blood-stained red, and there was no breath. Damn it. The man gritted his teeth and scolded. Old Six is dead. Everyone pay attention. Yes. Soon, dozens of people poured in from everywhere. They wore body armor and held rifles, looking serious and discreet. Even so, whenever someone fell, they still felt chills in their hearts. Because those who died too suddenly, until now, everyone has not seen the true face of the murderer. To be sure, the enemy is by no means good. At this time, a middle-aged man looked at the leader and reported quickly. Brother Long, we have already lost 43 people, and if we continue like this, the whole army will be destroyed. Brother Long nodded with a gloomy face. He knew that he had encountered hard stubble this time. However, if this problem is not solved, more people will definitely die in the future. That thing must still be in the villa. The fire system powerhouse burned the villa for me, and the others surrounded the villa. Don't let a mosquito go. Brother Long's eyes narrowed into a slit and ordered coldly. The original occupants of the villa have disappeared, leaving only a few bright red bloodstains on the bed, apparently encountering an accident. Since this is the case, the villa burns and burns. When everyone heard this, they all nodded in agreement. The fire wizard immediately unleashed the fireball technique, instantly submerging the villa in a raging flame. The flames burst into the sky and smoke billowed out. Brother Long and the others stood outside the villa clutching their rifles, staring at the burning villa with their eyes shining, not missing any clues. However, a minute, 2 minutes, half an hour passed. The fire gradually extinguished. Has it escaped? Brother Long frowned and couldn't help but ask. However, at this moment, a black shadow suddenly burst out from the thick smoke. Swoosh. The black shadow lightning pounced on the side. Attack. Brother Long's face changed suddenly. He shouted sharply, raised his rifle and shot. Tap da. The gun sounded. The bullet hit the black shadow, and it was immediately bounced off, making a ding-dong sound. Poof. The black shadow flashed away, and a green glow cut through the air, passed over the neck of a supernatural being, and instantly cut his throat. Poof. The powerful man fell to the ground, convulsed a few times, and then turned into a puddle of black water in an instant. When the other psychic beings saw this scene, they trembled with fear. Brother Long's pupils contracted, holding the handle of the gun in both hands, staring at the strange black shadow. However, the black shadow did not stop moving, and its target seemed to be everyone present, and in the blink of an eye, it pounced on the remaining superpowers. Abnormal energy, indiscriminate release, can't let this thing get close. Brother Long roared angrily, and took the lead in using the power. In an instant, several illusory metal shields appeared on his body, resisting the attack of the black shadow. Bang bang. Other powerhouses also cast their powers, and various fireballs, water blades, and boulders poured down towards the black shadow. But even if the hit doesn't hit, a smash of the brain can always cause damage, right? Aha, the black shadow roared up to the sky, as if he had been hurt and screamed. There is an effect, go ahead. Brother Long's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly greeted. Seeing this, the rest of the people increased their output one after another, and all kinds of special energy came one after another, bombarding the black shadow. This black shadow is not stupid, knowing that if you can't beat it, you will turn around and run. The eerie green flashed away and quickly rushed towards a certain part of the base. Chase me. This guy is injured. Don't let it run. Brother Long snorted angrily and slammed his fist towards the distant black shadow. Seeing this, everyone immediately followed, and a group of people chased in the direction of the black shadow's escape. For a moment, the car base was full of chaos, and the noise was heaven-shaking. Mu-Yun, who had just fallen asleep, was awakened by a shrill noise. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and sat up confused. What's the situation? However, at this moment, a black shadow quickly swept through the window and flashed away. How can there be mutant beasts in the base? Mu-Yun muttered suspiciously. Curious, he put on a coat and got out of bed and walked out the door. However, at this moment, a miserable cry came from the next room. Ugh. Mu-Yun pushed the door directly and entered. However, the scene that came into view made Mu-Yun completely stunned. I saw a woman's abdomen torn and a pool of red blood beside her. The windows were shattered and the cold wind outside blew in, lifted the curtains, and fluttered endlessly. That monster is in the hotel. Chase after it. A noisy sound of footsteps from far and near was coming this way. When Brother Long came to the hotel, he was slightly startled when he saw Mu-Yun. What are you? Brother Long looked at Mu-Yun warily and asked in a deep voice. He always felt that this young man was not simple, especially the other part, his bright and clear eyes, as if he could see people's hearts. I'm just passing through. Mu-Yun glanced at Brother Long lightly and turned to leave. Stop. Brother Long's face changed slightly and he raised his gun and pointed at Mu-Yun. Did you see a black shadow just now? In what direction did it run? Brother Long asked eagerly. If the thing ran away, it would be difficult to find. Nope. After Mu-Yun finished speaking, he was ready to leave. Stop. Who let you go? However, at this moment, several supernatural beings emerged from the hotel and stopped in front of Mu-Yun. Chapter 192. Mu-Yun's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. What do you mean? Brother Long, this kid is very suspicious at first glance. Yes. The people in the room are dead, but this kid is fine. There must be a problem. Maybe it's someone from the same party or something. These were all the superpowers under Brother Long, and they all aimed their guns at Mu-Yun. Mu-Yun looked calm. I advise you to consume the tail juice. When they heard this, the people were furious. This kid dares to threaten them. What a bare heart leopard ghoul. Oh, kind of interesting. Brother Long laughed. He slowly stepped forward, looked down at Mu-Yun condescendingly, and snorted coldly. I now suspect that you and the murderer just killed are in a group, so you must come back with me to assist in the investigation. Assist your sister. Mu-Yun sneered and slapped Brother Long. Then, he disappeared straight into the hotel. Brother Long covered his cheeks and his gaze darkened. Hey, what about people? He roared. Why are you stunned? Find it for me. In an instant, dozens of supernatural beings immediately rushed out of the hotel, looking everywhere for traces of Mu-Yun and the murderous creatures. However, when everyone left, Mu-Yun's figure appeared in the murder room again. Although this group of people was only a fourth order person at the highest, Mu-Yun did not want to cause trouble. The main thing is to be too lazy to do it. On the contrary, it was the mutant beast. He was quite interested. Come out. Mu-Yun drank slowly. In an instant, a black shadow burst out from the woman's torn abdomen. The black shadow is small, and it is not clear to see its true form when it is wrapped in black fog, revealing only two strange green rays. Hiss. It opened its mouth and hissed, as if in defiance. Mu-Yun narrowed his eyes and suddenly stretched out his right hand and grabbed it. However, at this moment, the black shadow instantly turned into a virtual shadow and disappeared from the place. Mu-Yun was surprised. This guy could actually disappear out of thin air, but there was no fluctuation of spatial energy around. SHHH. Suddenly, a fishy smell came to my face. Mu-Yun quickly turned his head sideways to dodge. At the same time, a sharp long tooth suddenly burst out from the black mist and bit towards Mu-Yun. Bold demon, I still don't know the height of the sky here. Mu Yun snorted coldly, his left arm was across his chest, and his right leg kicked out sharply, kicking fiercely on the opponent's head. Whoosh! The black shadow screamed in pain, and was immediately kicked back several meters, knocked over the wall, and fell to the ground. The black fog gradually dispersed, revealing the true face of the black shadow. It was a poisonous snake that was pitch black and about half a meter long. The black snake's whole body is covered with black stripes, its head is hideous, and the snake letter is constantly swallowing. Its gaze staring at Mu Yun was full of jealousy. Obviously the blow just now had injured it not lightly. It's a special line mutant beast. It's kind of interesting. From a small colored spar on its forehead, it could be seen that this snake had eaten the colorful devil fruit. Mu Yun looked solemnly. Judging by his own years of experience, this snake is different from the mutant beast with spiritual intelligence like Wan K. Wan K ate a colorful fruit at the beginning and did not touch the seeds in the fruit. So Wan K has memories of the past and still retains the spiritual intelligence of animals. But the snake in front of you is different. It seems that, after eating the seeds first to become a mutant beast, and then eating the colorful fruits by chance, this obtained the special line ability. This is the same as Mu Yun feeding 6th order green slaves in Yinchuan town before. Ordinary green slaves eat special fruits and then become mutant green slaves. Such a mutant beast lacks spirituality, cannot communicate, and is just a killing machine without feelings. There was a wound on the body of the mutant VIP, which seemed to have been injured by someone before. It turned out to be only the 4th order. It seems that it was a colorful fruit obtained by great luck and unintentionally. A playful smile appeared at the corner of Mu Yun's mouth. Seeing this, the mutant VIP's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange luster, and it swung its tail sharply and quickly attacked towards Mu Yun. But it seems that, because the injury is too serious, its attack is very slow, even a little slow. As soon as Mu Yun kicked it out, he easily stepped on it. SHHH. The mutant VIP hissed angrily, twisting its body desperately and struggling. If it had been before, I would have killed you directly, but now you have a good character, and can live for a while longer. Mu Yun's current skill Plunder can extract the VIP's power, which is equivalent to him being able to cultivate one more special lineage. With a wave of his hand, the mutant VIP was taken into the pendant space. Mu Yun also disappeared in place with him. The small world is still calm and peaceful. When the mutant VIP entered the space, it was shocked, and its pupils shrank suddenly. A vague coercion enveloped it, making it terrified in its heart. It was from the suppression at the bloodline level, as if it came from the ancient flood waste. Immediately, the mutant VIP saw the huge blood cocoon under the ancient tree, and it trembled with fright, and quickly lay down on the ground. As soon as Mu Yun came in, he noticed the abnormality of the mutant poisonous snake, and he was curious in his heart. Could it be caused by prosperity? Mu Yun guessed, walking towards the blood cocoon with the mutant VIP. Hiss. When Mu Yun brought it close to the blood cocoon, the mutant VIP was even more frightened, hissing madly, trying to escape the range of the blood cocoon. It seems that the atavism of 1K is even more powerful than I expected. Mu Yun touched his chin and temporarily imprisoned the mutant VIP on the edge of the giant cocoon before ignoring it. After walking around the small world and finding that the plants were growing well, Mu Yun left. Back at the hotel, Mu Yun continued to sleep, and Brother Long and the others braved the cold and searched the base over and over again, but to no avail. The next morning, Mu Yun slowly opened his eyes. Surprisingly, the wind and snow outside stopped today. The long-lost sun shone on the earth, shining on the white snow, which was particularly dazzling. Mu Yun stood up and stretched. It seems that the extreme cold is coming to an end, he muttered. After all, it is now near the end of the month, and the original low temperature of -100 degrees has begun to warm up. After a simple wash, Mu Yun left the hotel and ran into Brother Long's group. "Stinky boy, you fool us." Brother Long glared angrily, his eyes full of killing intent. After looking for a night without success, only then did Brother Long remember the truth, that it was dark under the lamp. "Say, is that ferocious beast with you? I now have reason to suspect that the ferocious beast was raised by you. Come with us and meet the city lord." Brother Long knew that he hadn't found the ferocious beast to be blamed by the city lord. so he simply found a scapegoat to settle the errand. Mu-Yun glanced at Brother Long, too lazy to talk with this kind of stupid nonsense, and turned around and wanted to leave. "Stop him!" Brother Long roared. Immediately, a group of subordinates blocked Mu-Yun's way. It's a pity that Mu-Yun used flying to rush the way. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Mu-Yun soared into the sky and galloped towards the southern suburbs. Chapter 193. Brother Long, do we still want to chase? One of his subordinates asked. Chase a fart. Will you fly, or will I fly? Brother Long scolded, and then looked gloomy. Mom, don't let Laotzu run into it again, otherwise you definitely want this kid to look good. Mu-Yun's speed was very fast, and he came to the southern suburbs in a short time. Where is this Chenghua Avenue? Looking at the white landscape around him, Mu-Yun frowned. After searching for a long time, a bridge appeared in front of his eyes. There are 3 big characters written on it, Erkson Bridge. It should be here. Mu-Yun was secretly happy in his heart, and stepped directly on it. Immediately, the field unfolded, and he began to look for the entrance to the shelter. Sure enough, Mu-Yun found an underground space under the bridge cave. He continued to spread the realm, followed by a teleportation directly into the shelter. What man? As soon as I entered it, there was a coquettish sound. Well, someone. Just when Mu-Yun was puzzled, a beautiful figure came into view. This is a beautiful woman in blue clothes. Her skin is more than snow, her facial features are delicate and picturesque, and there is an indifferent aura between her eyebrows. She sat in a wheelchair like this, her legs slender, giving people a feeling of weakness. But Mu-Yun did not dare to let his guard down in the slightest. He sensed that this woman was not an ordinary person. It is obviously in front of you, but there is no childlike breath in the perception of the field. It's weird. At this time, the Kingai woman slowly raised her head, and her clear eyes stared at Mu-Yun. Just one glance makes people fall into it. Mu-Yun was slightly stunned, and the 4 words calamity to the country and the people flashed in his mind. You. The woman in Kingai spoke, her voice soft, as if with a magical power, able to seduce people's souls. Calm the spirit. Mu-Yun drank slowly, thinking that it was this woman's power. But a burst of spiritual energy fluctuations swept through Mu-Yun's body, and he found that there was no difference. So, is this due to the woman's own charm? This feeling of deer bumping, Mu-Yun seemed to be in love. But this shouldn't be. With his own battle-hardened experience, how could such emotions appear? Yi Han-Yu, Base Issue and others in the base, are definitely world-class beauty in terms of appearance. But even so, staying with them every day, Mu-Yun was able to hold it, and spoil Chuan-Shian alone. Why do you feel this way here? It's so weird. The woman in Kingai saw the man who suddenly appeared in front of her staring straight at her, and her eyes did not blink. She couldn't help but bite her red lips, and her beautiful eyes wrinkled. Who are you? Why is it here? The soft voice sounded again. Ahem, I'm sorry, my name is Mu-Yun, it's the owner of this shelter. Friend. Mu-Yun's rare old face blushed, and he hurriedly explained. Netizens are also friends, although they haven't said a few words. Friends? The woman in blue frowned slightly, her eyes were filled with suspicion, as if she wanted to distinguish the real from Mu-Yun's expression. Gangs's lying skills don't seem to be very solid. After a while, the woman in Kingai smiled, like a spring breeze. Oh, it's really friends, but I don't know each other. Being poked by the Kingai woman to break the lie, Mu-Yun was suddenly embarrassed. The woman in Kingai did not hold on. Her face was calm. My name is Luoxi. I don't know what you are doing here. When Mu-Yun heard this, his heart turned sharply. Then why is a Luoxi girl here? You shouldn't be the owner of this place, right? Speaking of this, Luoxi's beautiful face blushed. I just see that there is no one here, so I kindly help others look after their homes. Looking at Luoxi's shy appearance, Mu-Yun was dumbfounded, and he secretly praised in his heart, this sister paper is too tempting. Resist Lao Mu, cannot do illegal and criminal things. Oh, so it is. Mu-Yun suppressed the impulse in his heart, and immediately said, it's unfortunate Luoxi girl, my friend should become a green slave. You can live casually. If my friend knew that there would be a beautiful woman like a girl living here after death, he would probably die without regrets. Fart Emperor, you are clear. You are amazing. Cluck, you're quite interesting. After listening to Mu-Yun's words, the corners of Luoz's mouth raised a curve, looking particularly charming. Mu-Yun suddenly felt his breathing accelerate. But speaking of which, I did see a monster when I first came in. Is that your friend? Luozima's eyes blinked, and she suddenly asked. Well, sort of. Mu-Yun nodded. Presumably that is the mutated fart emperor. Alas, one more person, just gone. When Luozi heard this, they frowned, looking quite worried. Luoxi girl doesn't have to worry about him. In this world, death may not be a relief. Mu-Yun waved his hand and smiled. It's not. Who knew that? Luoxi shook her head. She looked at Mu-Yun with complicated eyes, and sighed lightly. Your friends died once, and I killed them again, and now I'm still living in his shelter, and I'm a little overwhelmed. Luozi's voice had a hint of regret in it. This, Mu-Yun said for a while. Poor fart emperor, if he hadn't eaten the devil fruit, after listening to his brother's advice at that time. Why this? Why this? After sighing, Luoxi began to take Mu-Yun to visit this shelter, and talk about his experience. Emperor Fang's shelter was very spacious, 10 times larger than his own shelter. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm definitely rich. The interior space of the shelter is designed with a sense of technology, which looks more like a high-tech science base. The floors are covered with white floor lamps, and there is even a microphone elevator that goes to the 6th basement level. The first floor is the living room, kitchen. The second bedroom is the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is the entertainment. The 4th floor is the warehouse, and the 5th floor is the power circulation room. The 6th story is the largest, which is a very exaggerated ecological park. Luoxi pushed the wheelchair to the 6th floor. Through the identity card she got from the fart emperor, she took Mu-Yun into it. You will see a lawn, followed by hills, flowing water, lotus ponds, and everything. There is even a small orchard. Chickens, ducks, and geese are raised in the orchard, and a few cows and sheep are free range on the lawn. Mu-Yun even saw several unknown birds flying overhead. There are also some normal ladybugs in the meadows, and praying mantis lurk in the weeds. When Luoxi appeared, 2 rabbits ran from nowhere and threw themselves into her arms. Mu-Yun knew that he had come to the right place. If this ecological garden is moved to a small space and cultivated a little, he can have endless food. However, he was not in a hurry to buy 0 yuan immediately, but quietly watched Luoxi playing with the 2 rabbits. It took a long time for her to stop playing cheerfully. Okay, you guys play by yourself first. I have something to do. Luozi rubbed the rabbits' ears and let them leave on their own. As a result, the 2 rabbits seemed to understand and ran straight to the side to graze without nostalgia. Seeing this, Mu-Yun was surprised in his heart. Can you communicate with them? Chapter 194. This is my ability to reach the soul of the other person. But this ability is very complicated. I don't understand it very well. Luoxi explained. Although Luozi said vaguely, Mu-Yun understood one thing. It turned out that it was not that he could not hold it, but that the other party was really able to hook the soul. I said, with my many years of experience, how can I think so easily? Mu-Yun secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. But he forgot that the feedback given to him by the previous domain was not a psionic response. Then Luoxi talked about her experience. Actually, it's nothing. She has been unable to walk since she was a child and has been in a wheelchair for 2 decades. It's a pity for 2 long white legs. After the end of the world began, she originally attended classes at school, but because of her leg and foot inconvenience, she stayed in the school dormitory after the arrival of the green tide. It may be that God's conscience found out that he took her legs and gave her a colorful devil fruit. She then carried the pain of awakening and gained the ability to manipulate her soul. Strangely, the awakened psychic transforms its own physical body. In general, some congenital diseases heal on their own upon awakening. This made Mu-Yun quite puzzling. Speaking of this, Luozi closed her eyes, and then an illusory shadow emerged from her body and appeared in the air. I can't walk, but it's fine that I can fly now. Luoxi in the soul stayed circled in the air twice, with a smile on his face. What can you do in this state? For the magical soul system ability, Mu-Yun had never seen it. It seems that the spiritual system can also be achieved out of the soul when it is raised to the extreme, but that is obviously fundamentally different from Luox's. In the soul state, I can travel at will, no one can cause harm to me, but I can hurt others. Saying that, she passed through the wall, went directly to the 5th floor, and then flew to the orchard to pick an apple. You see, only the objects I want to touch can be touched, otherwise they will penetrate my body. Muyun unfolded the field and tried to summon the flames to approach, but Luoxi passed directly through the flames unscathed. This ability is a bit powerful. The soul state is directly invincible and can also cause harm to others. The only weakness should be the immovable physical body. After flying for a long time, Luoxi flew back into his body and opened his eyes again. I'm awesome, Luoxi asked proudly, and Muyun immediately nodded in praise. It's really powerful. Haha, I'll be even more powerful. Hearing the compliment, Luoxi laughed happily, like a child who got a toy. I can also see the color of other people's souls, and through the color I can tell whether others have malicious intentions towards me. Oh. Muyun was interested. Then what color am I now? Luoxi looked at him carefully for a few seconds. Strange. It was still pink just now. How did it turn white now? What's the difference? Muyun asked. Luoxi thought for a moment. I met a few villains before, and their souls are black. White like your current is goodwill and harmless. As for pink, Luoxi hesitated. His face flushed. It should be a satyr or a pervert. Muyun. What is the name of this special meow? What is a satyr or pervert? This is slander. Absolutely slanderous. But you're not pink now. You're a good guy now. Luoxi said seriously, and the corner of Muyun's mouth twitched a few times. Not now. That means I was a pervert just now. That's really, thank you. Muyun Qiang resisted the urge to roll his eyes, and replied with a smile. In order to avoid an awkward atmosphere, Luoxi continued to tell the story later. Roughly there was no food, came out to find food, and finally found here after some twists and turns. And through the ability of the soul to penetrate the wall, the green slave, but Emperor rented this shelter after killing it. But thanks to Luoxi, otherwise this ecological park would not have been so intact. Because when she came in, the generator in the shelter ran out of fuel, and the circulation system stopped working. Then Muyun also roughly explained the purpose of his coming here. So that's the case. You really know the owner here. I thought you found this place by accident like me. After listening to what Muyun said, Luoxi suddenly realized. I want to take away this ecological park. If you can, do you want to come to my base city? Muyun would not let go of any special ability. They are all true powerhouses who can step into the realm of kings in the late apocalypse. If he can be deceived, it is an invitation to his base. Won't it be a big help in the future? Yes, although I eat and drink here alone, I'm quite bored. While Luoxi was delighted, he shook his head. But I can't seem to help when I go. She was a little tangled. After all, her legs couldn't walk. Maybe it would be a burden. Legs? Muyun fell into deep thought. The action aspect is indeed a drawback, but Yi Hanyu and Emolan may have a way to solve it. It's really not possible. Install a mechanical leg. Li Yan and Li Cheofen can do it. It's okay. It's not a problem for me. Muyun waved his hand and said. Luoxi heard this and showed a sweet smile. Thank you. You're such a nice guy. Don't just send me a good guy card. Hey. I'm sorry. Luoxi stuck out his tongue. Now that the negotiation was done, Muyun directly expanded the field and included the entire ecological park and the small world. Even the turf on the ground was not spared. Those little beetles and the like are also indispensable creatures in the small world. For example, Shell Lang can solve the problem of Muyun shoveling for cattle and sheep in the future. Temporarily place the ecological park on the grassland and prepare to rationalize the resettlement later. Wow, that's awesome. Seeing this scene, Luoxi was amazed. Speaking of which, you seem to be only 2nd order now, and I don't know what new skills you can obtain after the 6th order. Luoxi has not left since entering the shelter, and although she is invincible in her soul state, her attack power is somewhat weak, and it is also a little difficult to deal with the green slave. At the moment, he is just a 2nd order superpower. What is the 2nd order? I do not quite understand. Luoz shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. So and so, so, and so. Anyway, when she had nothing to do, Mu-Yun explained to her the knowledge of the superpower. The two returned to the living room, had a meal together, and then chatted until the evening. Mu-Yun decided to sleep for one night before leaving. Chapter 195. At dinner, Mu-Yun sat on the sofa in the living room, watching Luoxi float around after his out-of-body soul. After a burst of tinkering, a sumptuous dinner was complete. Although the process is a bit weird, the dishes are really good. How's that? It tastes good, doesn't it? Luoz came to Mu-Yun with a plate and showed off the fruits of his labor, as if he were inviting. That's good. Mu-Yun nodded. Of course. Luoz straightened his chest with a proud face. Then she pushed her wheelchair to the dining table and hugged herself to the chair. I had heard of the theory that the left foot could fly when you stepped on the right foot, but I didn't expect it to be realized in Luoxi, but I hugged myself. After dinner, Mu-Yun randomly found a bedroom and entered the small world in a flash. Above the grassland, the ecological garden stands alone. According to the books I had the other day, I can't fully open them yet. Mu-Yun muttered there, and then moved the entire ecological park to the southwest. It is located in the area between the small forest and the sea of flowers. Now if the ecological park is opened directly, those animals in it gallop in the huge small world, and they may not find a mate for the rest of their lives. At that point, it will really become an extinct creature. Mu-Yun needed to let the ecological garden naturally and slowly expand, and then occupy the entire grassland. At that point, he doesn't need to worry about it, just let it run on its own. A transparent cover covers the entire ecological park, doubling the scope compared to the previous one. After a while, Mu-Yun will let it slowly expand again. The small fish pond in the ecological park was also enlarged many times by him, and a river was led across the entire ecological park. The water quality inside has been greatly improved. As for the underground of the ecological park, Mu-Yun did not block it. Earthworms in the soil are very important and can fertilize the soil. Earthworms have a fast reproductive cycle and there is no need for restrictions. After that, Mu-Yun divided suitable living areas for various animals and tried to make them do shy things to speed up the reproduction speed. After doing this, he clapped his hands in satisfaction. Go back to your room and lie on the bed and sleep with your eyes closed. Early the morning of the second day, Mu-Yun temporarily bid farewell to Luoxi and prepared to continue his journey towards Jiangju. Although there are enough animals here, who would be too many. Moreover, Mu-Yun lacked a vital animal that he had not yet obtained. That's Peppa Pig. In the past 2 days, Mu-Yun would occasionally chat with Jiangming, and from his words, he revealed that there was also a stable and a pig shed in his shelter. It's also nobody. I really don't know what's going on in this guy's head. Forget about the pigs, they even raise horses. Everything was loaded into the shelter, and it was impossible. Heju was not far from Jiangju, and it only took Mu-Yun 3 or 4 days to reach the address Jiangming gave him. Bangbi County, Jiangju should be here. Looking at the map in his hand, Mu-Yun sent a text message to Jiangming. Mu, I'm in Fengbei County, how to go next? Jiang, look at the sky. Look at the sky? What do you mean? Mu-Yun was stunned. What did this mean? It didn't take long for him to understand. I saw a red signal flare rising into the sky and then exploded into pieces in the air and scattered in the sky. That's what it means. I thought this guy's shelter was in the sky. Mu-Yun shook his head. Since this is the case, then he also delayed and flew straight towards the target. Then a bunker-like building was discovered in a remote suburb. A young man of about 20 years old, wearing a large thick cotton jacket, was standing on top of the bunker and looking out. This guy actually turned the shelter into a bunker. Absolutely nothing. Although the distance was a bit far away, Mu-Yun could clearly see that this was not an ordinary bunker. There are an astonishing number of various weapons placed on them. There are even bazookas, mortars and the like. Mu-Yun secretly said, what kind of person is this guy? Moreover, the concealment of this bunker is extremely high, and the average person will never notice it. Here you are, come in and say, it's too cold outside. Jiangming saw the black shadow flying down from the sky and waved his arm with a smile. Yun landed on the bunker and stepped inside. As for how to enter, it turned out to be a direct descent to 100 meters underground by elevator. I'll go. So deep. Are you sure that you built a shelter, not an underground kingdom? Walking underground, Yun couldn't help but complain. It's always right to be cautious. Jiangming quipped. Along the way, Yun was indeed amazed by this guy's shelter. Just making such a huge space so deep underground is not a simple task. How exactly did this guy do it? And from the entrance, Yun experienced no less than 10 electronic doors. On the walls of the corridor are various infrared laser weapons. Just like the Hive and Resident Evil, the sense of technology is also full of danger. After walking for more than 10 minutes, I finally saw the true face of the shelter behind the 30th mechanical door. The first thing that catches your eye is a central control room with a bunch of data displayed on various electronic screens. There are also surveillance footage from various parts of the base. Yun also saw a huge 3D virtual projection presenting the entire base. That's a structural diagram of the entire base. Looking at the exaggerated layout, this can no longer be considered a shelter. It is simply a small base. This is all made by you? Yun pointed to the huge virtual image and asked. Well, this is something that I spent 5 years crafting. Jiangming said suddenly, looking quite proud. This, even if it is 5 years, you can't do such an exaggerated workload alone, right? Yun frowned. He felt that something was wrong. Please, you don't think I made it brick by brick with my own hands? It's 2066. Shouldn't there be people who don't know that there are intelligent manipulators and robots? No. Jiangming stared at Yun with a foolish expression. Has anyone told you that you really owe Bayan now? The corners of Yun's mouth twitched slightly, and he couldn't help but complain. Of course, in order not to be flattened, I built this shelter and hid. Jiangming shrugged his shoulders and admitted without restraint. Yun was helpless. This guy was really need. Let's not talk about this. The milk powder is brought. My 2 little cowboys can't hold on. I'm curious, why do calves have no milk to drink? Aren't you raising cows? Don't mention it. Before I was gluttonous, the cow directly slaughtered the cow after giving birth, and then I found out that I didn't stock up on milk powder. Jiangming pouted, looking embarrassed. But the steak tastes delicious. Yun's face was full of black lines. Too lazy to pay attention to this guy, and took out a bunch of milk powder directly from the small world. Jiangming was also not polite, took a large package, and took Yun to his ecological garden. Chapter 196. On the way to the ecological park, Jiangming took Yun to visit the shelter he was proud of. The sanctuary covers an area of 1,000 square meters per floor, but is 20 stories in size. The perimeter is surrounded by high-tech defenses, and there are intelligent robots patrolling. That's about the same kind of simulated robots you see on TV. And they can also change their image at will according to the will of the master, such as Jiangming asking them to wear maid skirts, maid outfits and so on. On the bottom floor, there are also manipulators and robots digging new floors, all of which are controlled by the central intellectual brain, without Jiangming's energy. The second underground floor is a residential area, although it can accommodate 200 or 300 people, but it is a pity that Jiangming lives alone here. Further down are various entertainment venues, and the next 10 floors are full of various supplies. According to Jiangming, if the shelter is not destroyed, it will be enough for him to live alone for 300 years, not counting that the ecological garden can still provide food. Further down are the farms and growing areas. The pigsty is designed with a separate layer, which contains at least 30 domestic pigs of various sizes, and there are intelligent robot management dedicated to care and cleaning. Further down is the stables and a pony farm. Well, bold. 1 floor below the stables is the small eco park. What surprised Yun was that this guy actually planted the last 2 layers of green tide mutant vines. Even the wool of the green tide dares to speak. Bullish. Don't look at me at home, but with 2 layers of vines, I'm now 4th order superpower. Jiangming said with a sigh. Your strength is not even comparable to the janitor in my base. Yun rolled his eyes and mocked mercilessly. Finally found an opportunity to fight this guy. Of course I know this, but I don't eat by supernatural abilities. Jiang Ming was not annoyed at all and still said with a grin. Stopping and walking all the way, I finally came to the ecological park. It's a pity that the end of the world opened too suddenly. I only built half of this ecological park, and there are still many things that have not been perfected. Jiang Ming sighed and shook his head, obviously a little regretful. Be content. Look at the Fart Emperor. The shelter is built, but the people are gone. Mu Yun said calmly. Jiang Ming shrugged his shoulders and did not refute. Entering the ecological garden, he pours milk powder into a special instrument. Based on the data, the brain will automatically make milk powder for the cows and then send them to the cowshed by the manipulator. It can be said that all the projects of this shelter are like assembly lines, all completed by manipulators or intelligent robots. Mu Yun somewhat understood Yi Hanayu's words when he left the Dragon Court. This Jiang Ming's talent in mechanical transformation, architectural transformation and artificial intelligence is not high. If you bring this guy back to the Dragon Court and let him completely transform the base, it will definitely be a big help to fight against future natural disasters. By the way, did you gain anything from going to the Fart Emperor? I have freshly hatched chicks here. If you want to raise them, you can exchange them for crystal nuclei. After solving the milk powder problem, Jiang Ming remembered the purpose of Mu Yun's visit. There are gains, and they are not small. Not only got a good ecological garden, but also a beautiful girl. The corners of Mu Yun's mouth hooked slightly. So, do you still need these animals? I'm still looking forward to getting some psionic crystal nucleus breakthroughs from you. Jiang Ming blinked, revealing an innocent smile that only a boy has. Of course you need it. It's okay to give it all to me and those pigs and horses of yours, as long as they are animals. I need them. Mu Yun said seriously. This is also the reason why she came here. In this case, let's go to another place to talk about the price. Jiang Ming touched his chin, and after thinking for a moment, he made a decision. The two came to the living room, and after an hour of haggling, ultimately, Mu Yun wrapped the animals in Jiang Ming's shelter for the price of a 6th order crystal nucleus. He kept only one team of each animal for breeding, and sold the rest. Although these almost extinct animals are now of high value, Jiang Ming is a smart person. Animals can reproduce slowly, as long as they have time, but crystal nuclei are not. He was timid, and did not dare to go out to hunt green slaves. Exchanging these animals for a large number of crystal nuclei is not a loss for him. And Mu Yun is now rich, and won 6th order in exchange for 28 pigs, 4 horses, 16 chickens, 8 fish, and 1 sheep is also not a loss for him. If you want crystal nuclei, you can go to the mountains, but these animals are priceless. After everything was negotiated, Mu Yun put these animals into the small world one by one. Not only that, Jiang Ming stored seeds of many crops, corn, pumpkin, watermelon, tea seedlings, tomatoes. Many of them were missing from Mu Yun, and a 5th order crystal nucleus was directly wrapped up. Now as long as Jiang Ming has enough food, he can steadily rise to the 6th order. The reason why Mu Yun was so generous was mainly because he had already regarded Jiang Ming as his own person in his heart, and he had to abduct this person to the Dragon Court. The deal went smoothly, and both of them smiled with satisfaction. Speaking of which, Yi Hanayu and Emolin have already joined the Dragon Court. Do you want to join together? You know, my base is as beautiful as a cloud, with a superior life and strong strength, and it is definitely safer than your shelter. Mu Yun started the flickering mode. Jiang Ming's brows furrowed, as if he was considering something. Actually, I had this idea at the beginning, but I couldn't bear to give up my shelter and go to the Dragon Court. Jiang Ming pondered for a moment, raised his head and said firmly. When Mu Yun heard it, it seemed that there was a play. So what if I can take your shelter straight away? What? Take my shelter? Jiang Ming's eyes widened. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. You must know that the size of this shelter is now comparable to a skyscraper. Even if the strength of the supernatural is great, there is no such thing as carrying a skyscraper across half of China. It's a fantasy. How is it impossible? Mu Yun raised his eyebrows. The core of your base is actually 5 floors, the main control room, the bedroom, and the 3 recreation rooms, and the remaining floors just need to take away supplies and animals. The rest is dispensable. How? Think about it. Beautiful women like clouds as for whether you can see it, you don't know. Mu-Yun was secretly worried. No, 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 this idea is crazy. Jiang Ming's head shook like a rattle, and he always felt that Mu-Yun was pulling a calf. I already knew that I brought Luoxi together, and I directly came to a hook of the soul. Even I can't bear it, let alone this kid. Save time and effort. Mu-Yun sighed secretly in his heart. However, he did not give up, and continued to flicker. Have you heard of sandworms? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. Sandworm? Jiang Ming was stunned. That's right. Just one sandworm can destroy this seemingly unbreakable shelter of yours. If it is an ordinary sandworm, it is the size of a finger at most, but if it grows to the thickness of a house, as long as it goes down, sigh. Jiang Ming gasped. This number is too terrifying. It's not so exaggerated. It's not a science fiction movie. Jiang Mingzhou said stiffly. Why not? You look at those mutant beasts, which are not behemoths. It won't be long before even earthworms can grow bigger than you. So, instead of perfecting your shelter, it's better to find a way to become stronger, and then come, and don't be afraid of anything. Mu-Yun gradually seduced. It's like, makes sense. Jiang Ming touched his head, and fell into thought. So, join the dragon court, become bigger and stronger with us, and create brilliance again. Mu-Yun said seriously. Why does this sound so familiar? Jiang Ming muttered suspiciously. The corners of Mu-Yun's mouth raised slightly, and he smiled. You see that Jihan Yu and Emolin are smarter than you. They joined the base early, and now they are both core members. Okay, I join. As long as you can take my shelter away, from now on, I will be a member of the Dragon Court. Jiang Ming decided. Not bad, but teachable. Mu-Yun nodded gratifyingly, and tricked back another talent. I don't know where the rest of the dark web is, so bring them all back. After some deliberation, the two decided to leave 2 days later. Most of the materials on the outer walls of this shelter are alloys, the kind of precious materials used on space rockets. Jiang Ming felt that it was a pity to stay here, and it had to be completely demolished. And those laser weapons in the aisles and the like. So in the past 2 days, he began to let the manipulator and intelligent robot dismantle all of these, and take them away. Mu-Yun was also not in a hurry, and Chuan Tian learned through the transmission of thoughts that everything was normal at the base, and it would not hurt to stay for 2 more days. In the next few days, Mu-Yun loaded all the materials of the 10 floors into the small world, and the remaining animals were also taken away, and the ecological park was not spared. In short, everything that can be taken away is taken away, and not even a single hair is left. Even the weapons on the bunker and the 100-meter elevator were not spared. 2 days later, boom, after shaking the mountain for a while, the huge shelter was all taken away by Mu-Yun, leaving only a huge crater. Fortunately, Mu-Yun's current domain range is large enough, and his spiritual power can cover the 5 core floors. Otherwise, there is really no way. I'm going. It's really moved. Jiang Ming looked at the empty underground, and his mouth opened into an O shape. This made him think that it was more reliable to improve his own special strength. But it would be better if the shelter could be stronger. Don't be surprised. Let's go. After that, Mu-Yun flew out of the ground with him and headed towards Hezhou. Line Groove. Laotzu is flying. This is not a selfie to send friends. Jiang Ming was pleasantly surprised. What he likes to do is to be in the group versus say anything to show a wave. Then he took out his phone and compared it. Mu-Yun flew by himself, too lazy to care about him. Doomsday Enthusiast Group, Violent Pangolin, the eyes of the audience are on me, or the audience. I'm taking off. Grumpy Pangolin, video, MP4, Angela, Big Guy Bullfrog, Arthur delivers paper, this is a flying power. But I remember that your powers are not golden. Wind blows fart cool, envy, JPG, touch the fish fairy heart. You're not next to a cucumber guy. The crotch is murderous. Is this ready to come back after finishing things? Cucumber is not a melon. I reported it when I played with my mobile phone in class. The crotch is murderous. You are a real dog. Grumpy Pangolin. Hey hi, I officially joined the Dragon Court base now. Yun boss personally picks up. Cow. Wind blowing fart cool. 66,666. Arthur handed over paper. It's over. It's all over. Angela. Brother can you? What's the end? Arthur handed over the paper. Nothing. Loss of 100 million. JPG. Grumpy Pangolin. Do you want to join the Dragon Court base? For the sake of the group. I covered it. Touch the fish taxon. The mountain is high and the road is far away, and there is a chance to see you again. With Jiang Ming's vigorous publicity, the group began to discuss whether to join the Dragon Court together. But apparently, more people are choosing to stay in their comfortable shelters. Gao is king. After 3 days of flying, the two finally arrived in Hezhou. When Yun came to the irksome bridge, unexpectedly, there were traces of battle here. Broken. Yun's face sank, and he hurriedly lowered his altitude and fell, but saw that the door of the shelter was violently smashed through. This is the legacy of the Fart Emperor. How did it become like this? Jiang Ming's brows furrowed, and the inside of the shelter had turned into ruins. The materials inside have also been looted, and Luox's figure has disappeared. It doesn't seem to have been away for long. I'll see if I can call in the surveillance. Saying that, Jiang Ming was ready to turn on the power. No, it may be too late to save people after watching the monitoring. Thinking of Luox's face that has brought calamity to the country and the people, I'm afraid that few people can hold it. Although Yun was anxious in his heart, he did not lose his cool. It is estimated that only people from the base of the city center can find here. Previously in the hotel, Yun asked the waiter how to go to Chenghua Avenue. If that brother Long investigated carefully, he would definitely find clues. It is not difficult to find this shelter after that. There are always a few psychic beings who awaken some strange skills, and it is not surprising that they have detected underground space. Thinking of this, Yun grabbed Jiang Ming and galloped towards the base in the center of the city. Howdy City Base. Base Center Villa. Brother Long, you are back. The boss is waiting for you. Seeing Brother Long's group returning, the soldiers standing guard at the gate of the villa immediately greeted them respectfully. Oh yes? It seems that the boss knows that this harvest is amazing and can't wait. Brother Long smiled and went straight into the villa. And on the hands of this group of people, there is also a woman who is covered in a sack. There was a sound of struggle in the sack, and a lewd smile appeared on Brother Long's face. He has never seen such a beautiful woman when he is so big, and this face, this leg, is simply superb. Say nothing today, and let the boss snatch it. You, take someone to my room for me, send someone to watch it. No one is allowed to approach. Brother Long ordered his junior brother. When the younger brother heard this, he hurriedly responded, don't worry, Brother Long. When Brother Long is tired of playing, he will also give the brothers a taste. Brother Long smiled, don't worry, you will be indispensable at that time. Chapter 198. On the second floor of the villa is a huge living room. At this moment, a man wearing a white Tang costume with neatly combed hair was sitting on the main seat of the sofa, his eyes slightly closed, and he seemed to be asleep. Boss, I'm back. At this time, Long Zhelong smiled and pushed the door in. The man in white, known as the boss, slowly opened his eyes, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Things done? The man in white was named Li Wentao, and was the ruler of this base. The army sent by the 7th district died together in the confrontation with the corpse tide, and Li Wentao successfully took over the base with the power of black and white and his own strength. Of course, the most important thing in this is that there are many powerful people relying on Li Wentao's underworld forces. And there are few capable people in D City, all of them survive in their own scattered sand. As a result, it was picked up by Li Wentao and cheapened. Relying on the prototype of the base built by the military and the rapid development of the materials left behind, it has come to this fairly good scale. Boss, you said this, how can I not succeed? Brother Long assured as he patted his chest, his face full of excitement. Well done. These tens of tons of materials are enough for us to be dashing for a while. Li Wentao nodded in satisfaction. That's not the boss's heroic and martial arts, and he immediately investigated the clue. Brother Long gave a thumbs up and praised. And the mysterious ferocious beast has disappeared in the past 2 days, and our base is really Han Fukushan. Brother Long continued to boast, and the rainbow fart sounded louder than the other. Well, you are also working hard these days. Take advantage of the fact that there are not many things recently. You and the brethren are relaxed, and take a part of those supplies, and send them down. Lee Wenteo waved his hand and said, looking atmospheric. Thank you boss, thank you boss. Brother Long suddenly raised his eyebrows with joy and was overjoyed. After Lee Wenteo's voice fell, suddenly a wet young man rushed in outside, his face full of panic. Report boss, Brother Long, outside. What's wrong? Brother Long asked with a frown. The young man trembled, and before he could speak, an icy voice resounded throughout the base. People below, listen. Hand over the woman you captured in 3 minutes, otherwise, there is no amnesty for killing. Kill without amnesty, no pardon pardoned. The voice seemed to come out of the 9 nether hell, which was creepy. And the moment they heard this voice, the entire base seemed to fall into a dead silence, and everyone stared with bated breath. The smile on Lee Wenteo's face at this moment disappeared, replaced by anger. What kind of person dares to make a big fuss in front of Laotzu and look for death? He jerked up and slammed his fist on the table, and the whole table collapsed. Go see what's going on. Immediately, Lee Wenteo shouted in a deep voice, and walked out of the villa with a group of people. I saw a man in black with an awe-inspiring look and an arrogant attendant hanging high in the air, overlooking the entire base. The visitors were Mu Yun and Jiangming. Who are you? Lee Wenteo looked up at the man in black and asked coldly. You don't need to know who I am. Mu Yun grinned, and his face immediately became indifferent. Within 3 minutes, hand over the person, otherwise you will all die. Arrogant. Hearing this, Lee Wenteo was furious. I see that you are tired and crooked, and dare to come to my Black Dragon Gang territory to make trouble. It's you. Brother Long on the side let out an exclamation and immediately recognized Mu Yun. He never expected that Mu Yun would dare to come. Boss, it was this kid before. He and the fierce beast were in a group. If this kid couldn't fly, I would definitely be able to leave this kid behind at that time. Brother Long stared at Mu Yun fiercely and said hatefully. So it's you. Hearing this, Lee Wenteo's expression became more and more cold, and a strong murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Well, I haven't asked you to settle the account, but you came to the door yourself. Since you are here, stay here forever. Lee Wenteo smiled viciously, not putting Mu Yun in his eyes at all. Because he is a powerful 6th order psychic. Even a backbone subordinate like Brother Long was only of the 4th order, but Lee Wenteo quietly broke through to the 6th order. Obviously, the resources in the base were all swallowed by him alone. This is also where his strength lies now. I'm Lee Wenteo, 6th order. Invincibility. However, Mu Yun bad didn't bird him. You wasted 1 minute, 2 minutes. Mu Yun said lightly, his eyes were as calm as water. His posture made Lee Wenteo even more angry, and his face was livid. Brother Mu, are you sure that it was the Luoxi girl who was taken away by this gang? Jiangming on the side suddenly interjected. Although Jiangming had never seen Luoxi, he knew Luoxi's name. 8 or 9 is not far from 10. Although Luoxi is only of the 2nd order, but her power is very strange. This city has the ability to capture her. Only this person from the Black Dragon Gang. Mu Yun said in a determined tone. Makes sense. Jiangming nodded thoughtfully when he heard this. At this time, Lee Wenteo also heard the conversation between the two, and finally couldn't bear it. Woman. What woman? You two young people are spraying people in that bloody mouth, raising ferocious beasts to kill the people of Laozi base. I haven't asked you to settle this account. Although Lee Wenteo was angry at the moment, he did not lose his cool, and felt that Mu Yun was here to find something. But at this moment, Brother Long's face beside him was a little embarrassed. Big brother, we did catch a woman. Brother Long said weakly, knowing that the matter could not be hidden. It was better to explain it early, otherwise the boss launched a rush, and he could not afford to suffer. What did you say? Where is that woman now? Why didn't you tell me at the first time? And also, is that woman beautiful? Lee Wenteo's eyes were round, his anger was raging, and he stared directly at Brother Long. "Ah, nice. Now in my bedroom." Brother Long stiffened and said with difficulty, "Snap." As soon as Brother Long's words were finished, he was slapped on the head. "Damn, you kid can do it. Play Gold House for Laotzu. It seems that Laotzu's words are becoming more and more useless." Lee Wenteo roared angrily. "Big brother, that woman is a disability. She is not worthy of your status. Whether you deserve it is what Laotzu said. What about people? Bring it out for Laotzu." Lee Wenteo kicked Brother Long's stomach and cursed viciously. "Okay." Brother Long replied, hurriedly ran into the room, and walked out with a sack. When the sack was untied, the girl inside was none other than Luoxi. After seeing clearly that it was Lee Wenteo and the others, Luoxi struggled desperately, trying to make a sound in his voice. So beautiful at this moment, all the men in the audience were intoxicated by Luoxi's face that had caused disaster to the country and the people, and their hearts were pounding. Even Lee Wenteo couldn't help, but froze for a second, and then revealed a greedy and obscene gaze. Chapter 199. Just when everyone was addicted to Luoxi's beauty and couldn't extricate themselves, a playful voice interrupted the crowd. "It's a pity." 3 minutes passed. Mu Yun didn't know when he appeared next to Luozi and picked him up by the waist. "Step on your feet and fly high in the air again." Seeing Mu Yun appear, Luozi's face changed drastically, his beautiful eyes flowed, and his eyes were filled with tears. Untying the rope on her body, Mu Yun gently held it in his arms. "They didn't do anything to you, did they?" Seeing that Luoxi was safe and sound, Mu Yun breathed a slight sigh of relief. "Woo, I'm sorry, the shelter was destroyed by them, things were robbed, my powers were restrained by them, and I couldn't resist." Luozi hugged Mu Yun tightly and cried aggrievedly. Hearing this, Mu Yun suddenly felt upset, his pupils contracted suddenly, and his body exuded terrifying killing intent. Although Luoxi has not yet planted the seed of the heart, he can only be regarded as half a person in the Dragon Court. But even the people of half the Dragon Court are not something that this group of Zio-Zio-san can bully. If you rob it, you will rob it, and if the person is fine. Mu Yun stroked Luoxi's black hair and comforted gently. "Well, thank you Mu Yun, I thought I was dead." Luozi nodded and said gratefully, "You take this first, you two will stay in the sky, and I will come when I go." Saying that, Mu Yun put a golden ring on Luozi's hand. "This is psionic weapons, injected with spiritual power can be used, try." Luoxi was smart, and immediately understood how to use it. I saw a cloud of fine golden sand flowing out of the ring, and then turned into wind and sand, and dragged the two of them in the sky. This is a psionic weapon created from the special energy crystal nucleus of yellow sand. Because the level of crystal nuclei is too low, it can only be used as an auxiliary ability. After Amolin made it, he had been collected by Mu Yun in the space to eat ashes, and now it came in handy. After doing this, Mu Yun retracted the field and slowly fell into the base below. Lee Wenteo saw the woman he wanted being taken away, and he was also with other men, and jealousy made him gradually lose his mind. "Boy, hand over the woman, I cannot blame the previous incident." Lee Wenteo stared at Mu Yun coldly, and said through gritted teeth, "Are you talking to me?" Hearing this, Mu Yun glanced at Lee Wenteo indifferently. "That's right, don't think that I can't take you with the power of flying. Hurry up and hand it over, otherwise I will let you live better than die." Lee Wenteo forced down the anger in his heart and said, It's really the fearlessness of the ignorant. You numb." Lee Wenteo roared, and took the lead, in rushing towards Mu Yun. "Humph, it's up to you?" Mu Yun smiled contemptuously, and then stepped forward. Swoosh. As soon as the words fell, Mu Yun's figure shook and suddenly disappeared like a teleportation, and the position where he originally stood left an illusory afterimage. Lee Wenteo only felt a flower in front of him, and then he saw his body. Poof! With the sound of blood spraying, a human head rose into the sky. This strange scene frightened everyone present. When the head fell, Mu Yun grabbed Lee Wenteo's hair and carried his head like this. Take advantage of the last few seconds of his life to let him admire the process of his own death. This is the moment. The last thought in Lee Wenteo's mind was, along I6U6 ancestors 6 sex asterisk Ashan. Yen asterisk and asterisk. The pit boss is not so pitted. If he had known that this man was so strong, he would not dare to provoke him with 100,000 dares. But this remorse did not last long. Poof. As the headless corpse fell, Li Wenteo's consciousness also completely dissipated. Along, who witnessed the whole process, was already so frightened that he couldn't speak and stammered and pointed at Mu Yun. He didn't expect that he was still mocking the other party just now, but he didn't expect that the other party would kill the boss he never dared to provoke in an instant. Snap. Mu Yun threw the head in his hand to the ground and walked towards along with his legs raised. Don't. Please, let me go. Looking at the man who was slowly approaching him, Aaron knelt on his knees and begged. It's late. Mu Yun looked at Along condescendingly, and the corners of his mouth hooked the arc of evil charm. Then stretched out his hand, and a laser suddenly pierced Along's head and exploded, and bright red liquid sputtered all over the ground. The rest were counted as one, and all of them were killed by Mu Yun. Disposing of the culprit, Mu Yun did not do anything to the rest of the base. Just took away the inheritance and part of the materials of the Fart Emperor. He does not like to kill indiscriminately, especially to ordinary people. After dealing with everything, Mu Yun returned to heaven. Although the two flew in the sky, the distance was not far. The two who witnessed the whole process of Mu Yun's killing remotely were shocked in their hearts at this moment, and it was difficult to calm down for a long time. Jiang Ming was fine, although he was a little uncomfortable, but the patience passed. But Luoxi, a young girl who has not yet lived in the world, looked at Mu Yun's gaze a little dodged at this moment. Especially when Mu Yun approached, there was still a smell of blood on her body, which made her face turn pale a little. I have never seen a girl who kills anyone, and she is still a girl who abuses and kills, and she really can't stand it. Cough. Luoxi, are you okay? Sensing Luoxi's slightly frightened gaze, Mu Yun asked with a light cough. No, it's okay. Luoxi quickly shook his head, and at the same time secretly scolded himself for not contending. Obviously it is the end of the world. What winds and waves have not been seen on TV? Thinking of this, Luoxi tried to adjust his breathing, wanting to return to his normal state. But the picture of those people being killed just now could not be waved away in her mind for a long time. Well, Mu Yun couldn't do anything. He had tried to make the scene less bloody just now, and this was something that Luoxi was destined to experience. There's nothing wrong with getting used to it early. Let's go, I'll take you back to the Dragon Court. Saying that, Mu Yun beckoned and flew towards Jiangshao with the two. Along the way, after Mu Yun's enlightenment, Luoxi has recovered, and although he sometimes has nightmares at night, he has at least begun to adapt. Now, the extreme cold is completely over. The snow and ice melt, and the earth rejuvenates, revealing turquoise mutant vegetation. Temperatures have also gradually returned to -5 degrees. It won't be long before the outside temperature returns to the temperature it should have in September. A week later, when the three arrived in Jiangshao, the temperature completely returned to normal weather of more than 30 degrees. But new problems have arisen. Widespread snowfall has left the world with too much water. Flash floods, mudslides, rising sea levels and other problems followed. Just carried a natural disaster, not waiting for human beings to recuperate, but ushered in a more severe test. However, this is a good thing for the Dragon Court. Chapter 200. On this day, the sun was shining, and there was no cloud. Mu Yun's figure appeared at the gate of the Dragon Court base. Zhang Di was leading soldiers there to maintain the hundreds of mortars, while Shen Liang was leading soldiers to defend the city wall. They didn't know about Mu Yun's departure from the base. After all, Mu Yun stayed in the inner city as a whole, and nothing generally did not appear. Even if it disappeared, no one would know. Without stopping, Mu Yun greeted them and flew straight towards the inner city. Looking at the vibrant and lively base below, Jiang Ming and Luoxi's hearts felt unprecedented stability. After going to so many places, I feel that Brother Mu's side is the most harmonious. During the flight, Jiang Ming suddenly sighed. That's right, as if the end times never happened. Luoxi on the side also echoed. Mu Yun just smiled and didn't speak. If it weren't for the strength of the Dragon Court showing a posture of crushing everyone, the large and small forces below would not be so stable. Soon, the three flew to the inner city. Mu-Yun landed in the square in front of the villa, and everyone in the villa was very keenly perceived, and Mu-Yun had just landed, and they heard movement. "Honey, you're back." A happy and excited female voice came. Immediately, a gorgeous figure ran out of the villa. The group that was still in class lost their textbooks, and left the villa under the leadership of Chuan-Tian. This made teacher Yi Han-Yu very helpless, but he did not stop it. But, just as everyone rushed out, they were stunned in place. Jiang Ming's existence-based issue told everyone in advance, because he learned the news in the chat group. But how can there be a stunning beauty? The key point is how this woman is being held by the city lord. A wonderful thought popped up from their minds, and Chuan-Tian was green. From their eyes, Mu-Yun knew that this group of women must have misunderstood. He was just exhausted of energy in his body, so he withdrew the power of the realm. But Luox's wheelchair was lost, and Mu-Yun couldn't throw people on the ground. "There is no way, I can only hold it first." Being stared at by so many people, Luozi, who was held by the princess, was so red that his face was almost dripping blood, and he couldn't wait to find a hole to get into. Ahem. Coughing lightly, Mu-Yun Gang was about to explain, but he didn't expect that Chuyu would make a preemptive strike. Brother-in-law, I can't imagine that you are so blatant and directly bring people to your home, even if you hide them secretly. Chuyu's face was filled with righteous indignation, as if Mu-Yun had done something that hurt heaven and reason. That's it, the city orders to Ang, and the fertile water does not flow into the fields of outsiders. There are so many beautiful sisters in the base. Who do you choose is not good. Why do you have to find outsiders? Yang Yunan did not care that the earth was fanning the flames there. However, after she said this, she made the others hang their heads shyly, and their faces were slightly red. Uncle is a Bagradish. Coco heard the hearts of those present at this moment, and muttered to Mu-Yun with a strange expression. Okay, Mu-Yun is not such a person. As the main palace, Chuan-Tian, who also knew Mu-Yun best, immediately stood up to help. "Sister, how do you turn to your brother-in-law?" Chuyu pouted and looked at Chuan-Tian unhappily. "I trust your brother-in-law," Chuan-Tian said seriously. She knew Mu-Yun, he was not an abusive man. Since he dared to take Luoxi home, he must have thought it through. Although she felt a hint of threat from Luox's stunning face, she believed Mu-Yun. It's just that, why these people are even more excited when they see this scene than her. It's weird. HMPH, brother-in-law is a scumbag. Chuyu glanced at Yi Han-Yu meaningfully, and said no more. Yi Han-Yu, eat melons and eat well. What does this girl's eyes mean? Can this melon still involve itself? Although Yi Han-Yu received some permissions for Coco's ability, she could not hear the voices of the core members. Naturally, he didn't know that the sound of his awakening at that time caused a misunderstanding between the two. She still thought that the clothes she was wet with sweat that day were changed by Mu-Yun. But afterwards, she was embarrassed to ask, and the matter was over. Just when everyone was thinking about each other, Jiang Ming spoke up again. "I'll go, brother Mu, I'll live a life. So many young sisters, can you physically stand it?" Jiang Ming's ridicule was very light, but everyone present was a high-level superpower. How could they not hear it? These words made everyone's pretty faces turn red again. Luoxi couldn't wait to bury his head in his chest. It was too embarrassing. That, in Xia Jiang Ming, hello sisters-in-law. Jiang Ming saw that the atmosphere at the scene was a little embarrassing and wanted to make a noise to ease it. It's just that the effect. Well, that's a good point. Don't say it next time. Bah. Stinky rascal. Who is your sister-in-law? HMPH. At this moment, everyone seemed to have found a catharsis, and they all looked at Jiang Ming angrily. After cursing with a red face, he turned and returned to the castle. What's the situation? Brother Mu, did I say the wrong thing? Jiang Ming scratched his head a little confused and asked Mu-Yun at a loss. You're right, just be careful when walking at night in the future. Mu-Yun glanced at him lightly. Ignoring this, Mu-Yun called Afu and asked him to find a wheelchair. After a long time, when Mu-Yun pushed the wheelchair to the living room on the second floor, everyone was stunned. It turned out that the city lord holding people was a force majeure factor. After a long day, they all misunderstood. This makes them feel a little guilty. Chuyu and Yanyu Nyan, who originally looked at Luoxi very unpleasantly, instead pulled Luoxi and comforted with an apologetic face. "Sorry, Sister Luoxi, don't take it to heart. We just misunderstood you. Yes, we have no malice. It's okay, as long as you don't dislike me." Luoxi shook his head and smiled softly. "How come? Sister Luoxi is much more beautiful than us." Yan Yunan hurriedly waved her hand. Seeing that they got along very happily, Mu Yun was relieved. "Yihan Ayu, you and Emolin study and see if there is a way to restore Luoxi's legs. According to my observations, the improvement of the physique of the special line has not improved her legs, which is a bit strange." On the way, Mu Yun had already raised Luox's level to a 4th order superpower, and his physique had also increased to more than 20 times. It can be clearly felt that the physical strength of her legs has also been strengthened, indicating that the meridians in her body are smooth, and she should not still be in a disabled state. For biology, it is better to leave it to Yihan and Emolin to study and consider. At this moment, Mu Yun sensed that there was a change in the small world. After a month, the cocoon of prosperity finally changed. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.